Chapter 582, Honing their blades. When the stars shifted, they would produce a vast amount of pure star power. This power would turn to star sand and enter the bodies of people. This sand was like the sand that people used to hone blades. Star sand could be used to refine the bodies of these people from the inside to the out to perfect it. This was the shifting star sands, one of the most famous worldly apparitions. The light of the stars was not as domineering and burning as the light of the sun, nor as soft as the light of the moon. The stars were like sand and were the best power to hone the body. However, causing this worldly apparition was a matter of chance. In reality, even now, no one understood how to cause a worldly apparition. But everyone knew that if a person caused a worldly apparition during cultivation, they would an extraordinary person. Zhuemo did not know that all of Great Peace City was now exploding in excitement because of him. He was immersed in a wondrous world. There seemed to countless stars slowly moving around him. A power that seemed both familiar and unfamiliar continuously permeated his body. Zhuemo recognized it. That was star sand. Each particle of star sand was extremely hard. With their sharp edges, they slowly advanced and moved in. Zhuemo felt there seemed to be sandpaper slowly smoothing out his unrefined flesh and blood. There was no pain, but an indescribably comfortable feeling. It was intoxicating. There was a faint smile on Gongsun Che's face. No one knew what he was thinking. Everyone beside him had extremely serious faces. They stared at the battlefield and didn't dare to move their eyes away. Because Wei Ran was losing. The strength of the others' battle tactics surpassed their imagination. When the dozens of brigadier levels had been merged into Vermilion Bird Camp and they started using the new tactics, everyone had been full of confidence. In the practice spars inside the camp, the power of their new tactics was multiple times as strong as their previous 3-section wave killing charge. Many people had been rubbing their hands eagerly, wanting to find a Zhago and having another battle. When Lil Miss had Wei Ran decided to face the enemy with equal numbers, no one had objected. They knew that Lil Miss wanted to test the new tactics. Everyone was filled with confidence and anticipation. They believed that Wei Ran would definitely win. Yet the reality was so cruel. This little battalion of 500 was unusually powerful. At the beginning, the two were evenly matched, but as time went on, the balance slowly tilted and Wei Ran was on the losing end. What caused their expressions to turn serious was that Wei Ran had not made any mistakes. Even so, his advantage was slowly slipping away. This was occurring at an extremely slow rate, but everyone had experienced hundreds of fights and could see this. There was still a faint small smile on Lil Miss' face that was as bashful as that of the neighbor's boy. No one knew what he was thinking. Feng Yu looked dazedly at the battlefield. She could see that Gao Xian was slowly gaining the advantage, but she was still shocked. No, it was amazed. She had been shocked when her Rage Lotus Bodhisattva had been stopped. But what this scene in front of her gave was shock, was fear. This was Jiangxi Battalion. The battalion that had killed countless Mo and just taken over Cold Mountain Jie. Every Jiangxi Battalion member had been picked with care. They had outstanding talent, and above-average resolve. The troop had been formed after extremely difficult training. She had seen how this battalion had been created with her own eyes. In her mind, this was the strongest battalion in the world. The matter had been as she had expected. This battalion that Jiang Zhe had spent such effort to create came out like a peerless sword that intimidated the world. The Battle of Cold Mountain Jie had pushed this steely battalion to a new level. Even the Shirshu that came to reinforce them were full of praise. Jiangxi Battalion's status in the sect had continued to rise. Everyone believed that unless they encountered the core battalions of the other 3 great sects or the top battalions of the Yama, Jiangxi Battalion could dominate all other battalions. Yet the scene in front of them made this thought a joke. Cloud Sea Jie was not one of the Great 4, not one of the Great 10, not one of the Great 100. In this Xiuzhe world, this Cloud Sea Jia was unranked. But in this little remote corner, a battalion appeared that could match the Jiangzi battalion. This was such a terrifying matter. Feng Yu suddenly realized to her shock just how little they knew of the world. She raised her head and looked into the distance. Her heart filled with terror when she looked at the majority of enemy troops that were standing there. If the remainder also joined. Her face became ashen. Gao Xian's expression became increasingly grave. He had expected this battalion to be a strong enemy, but he had not expected the other to be so strong as to reach a standstill with him. The other's fighting method was very strange, and the composition of the battalion was also very strange. He actually found Mo among them. When he first saw them, he had thought his eyes were deceiving him. But the Mo skills the other used, their unreasonable charges, caused him to shake. In the Battle of Cold Mountain Jia, he had seen too many Mo and was very familiar with them. This was definitely a Mo, and a Brigadier Mo. This wasn't one of them, but 10. All of them were Brigadier level. He felt this was extremely absurd. A group of Mo participating in a Xiuzha battalion? And it was a group of Brigadier Mo? What kind of joke was this? What he felt even more impossible to comprehend was that he couldn't detect any Jinji on their bodies. Were these Xiuzha in an alliance with the Yaomo? When this thought appeared, the coldness inside him grew. It had to be said that Gao Xian's abilities were very outstanding for Jiangzhe to put such responsibilities on him. After the initial probing rounds, Gao Xian had gradually gotten used to the other strange tactics and started to take back the advantage. His advantage was increasing, but the other was astoundingly hardy. Even though they were at a disadvantage, they did not panic. Suddenly, Gao Xian felt the pressure that the other gave him was slowly increasing. He quickly found that the other's cooperation between tactics was becoming smoother and more natural, the flaws smaller and the power greater. Gao Xian stilled. Thinking back to the rawness of the other's tactics just recently, his heart suddenly sank. He finally understood what the other's intentions were. The other was using him to test new battle tactics. Do you all see and understand? Lil Miss' warm voice passed into everyone's ears. Yes. Everyone's heart shook, but what was in their eyes was excitement. As expected, real combat was better than anything else for training. The stronger the other felt, the more they could test their tactics. This battalion from Xian Kong Temple was like a hard whetstone that was slowly honing them. When Wei Ran slowly climbed back from his disadvantage, everyone felt their blood slowly started to burn. This was a battalion from Xian Kong Temple. Vermilion Bird Camp had enough to be proud of to force a battalion from the four great sects to such a position. Lil Miss smiled faintly. The face like that of the neighbor's boy was filled with bashfulness. He said lightly, "Go, do not like even one escape." The people responded in unison. Murderousness spread. Vermilion Bird Camp was like a flood that lost all restraint and advanced. Jiangzhe felt unfocused. He walked out of the room. The night wind blew past his face. He instantly felt his mind clear and laughed silently. Gao Xian was leading 500 members of the Jiangzi battalion. Even though he would not be able to take revenge for Ding Zhenshushu personally, there definitely would not be a problem keeping Feng Yu safe in her revenge. He put his attention was focused on the counterattack from the Mo that was coming. According to the information from their spies, the Mo were allying, and forming an enormous troop to take back Cold Mountain Jia. Thinking about this, Jiangzhe's eyes became cold. He had prepared some gifts for the other to come fight them. He was filled with hope. Suddenly, a subordinate stumbled as he flew in. Duh. Darren. The Diana Tower, the Diana Tower. Jiangzhe's heart jumped and his expression suddenly became cold. He said in a deep voice, "What about the Diana Tower?" Stimulated by Jiangzhe's presence, this subordinate's mind suddenly cleared and his words flowed. But his voice was still trembling. Feng Yu Darren and Gao Xian Darren's candles have gone out. The blood inside Jiangja froze and his limbs felt cold. Suemo had never felt so comfortable. The star sand continuously honed every piece of muscle, every piece of bone, every one of his tendons. In this tempering process, a portion of the star sand merged into his blood and flesh, causing them to become perfect. Other than perfect, Suemo could not find a better word to describe it. The three powers circulated endlessly inside his body. They all had their own systems, but they also affected each other. The content of the Mo skill steels flowed across his mind. The circulating three powers were continuously adjusted. They became even more harmonious and gained even more affinity. Suemo's mind was unusually clear. Each thought was carried out as though every piece of muscle and blood in his body was under his control. Unprecedented confidence filled every corner of his body. Suemo quickly found that the star sand that entered his body seemed to be attracted and was gathering towards the Sun Mo matrix at the center of his chest. As Suemo's blood, flesh, bones, and sinews were honed, the speed that the star sand came in increased. In the end, it became streaks of starlight. These starlight continuously flowed into the Sun Mo matrix at the center of Suemo's chest. Boom! Suemo felt that the Sun Mo matrix at his chest seemed to be broken open. Someone appeared in his mind. This was. Suemo slowly savored it and did not detect that there was no more star sand entering his body. A long time later. A golden light flashed and disappeared from the Sun Mo matrix at his forehead. He slowly opened his eyes. When Suemo recovered clarity, the scene in front of him left him dumbstruck where he stood. Under the vast sky of stars, Mo filled the sky above Great Peace City like an endless black cloud. But why are they all staring at me? Chapter 583, Ripple's Silence. A deathly silence. Countless pairs of eyes moved to stare at Suemo, who opened his eyes. The enormous Great Peace City was so silent the drop of a pin on the ground could be heard. The sky was deep and dark, the chilling night wind blew. Suemo felt slightly uncertain at being stared by so many pairs of eyes. The scene was strangely silent. Suemo, who already did not know what was going on, did not dare to speak rashly. However, Suemo, who felt uncomfortable at being stared at, really could not suppress it. He coughed. The time isn't early, everyone, go to sleep early. Finishing, he waved his hand and pulled Shu Long and the others over in a flash to prepare to flee. These people had such strange expressions. Glancing his eyes across Shu Long and the others, Suemo felt very weird. But at this time, there was no time to think carefully as he sprinted. The Mo along his way automatically moved to give him a path. The expressions of these people were so strange. Suemo felt even worse. He unconsciously swallowed and didn't dare to stop. Mr. Xiao Mo Gu, will you be free tomorrow? This one represents the Bottlin family, and sincerely invites Sir to attend the evening party tomorrow night. In the silent night, this voice was unusually clear. It was like a spark thrown into a pot of hot oil. Great Peace City that had been deathly silent exploded. The representatives from all the other families seemed to wake up and extended branches of friendship. Mr. Xiao Mo Gu. This one represents the Werlicke family. This one is wondering if there is the good fortune to invite Mr. Xiao Mo Gu to a gathering at the compound. This one represents the Almond family. Mr. Xiao Mo Gu. Auburn family. The wave of sounds caused Suemo's mind, which had been puzzled in the first place, to blank. His expression became even more dazed. The pitiful little Mo Gu did not have any of his usual dominance. He was like a frightened lamb that started to sprint even faster. Even now, he did not understand. What was going on with these people? What had happened? Lon Tian Long, who had been watching the spectacle and saw Suemo's sorry state, instantly roared in laughter. He felt the scene occurring in front of him was extremely amusing. This Xiao Mo Gu was a funny person. Just like him, many people grinned but more people sank into deep thought. In the night, the lights glowing from their eyes were like bright stars. Qi Diaoye's figure was standing on the stone steel like a sword. He stared with a cold gaze at Sui Mo's figure in thoughtfulness. As Sui Mo left, the crowd slowly dissipated but heated discussion filled every corner of Great Peace City. It was a fresh experience for the majority of people to personally see a worldly apparition. They discussed the turning stars, the vast star power, and speculated about Sui Mo's Mo physique. This was a busy night. If killing Pang Chen had caused Sui Mo to appear in the view of the public, then the shifting star sand worldly apparition caused everyone to remember the name of Xiao Mo Gu. Another genius had appeared. Jiang Zhe stood in front of the Diana Tower and looked in a daze at two extinguished oil lamps inside the tower. His warm eyes were full of sorrow and he felt as though someone was carving out his heart. That beautiful figure that always thought herself the big sister and was never polite to him would never be seen again. Starting from when he decided to create a battalion that belonged to him, Feng Yu had accompanied him and helped him take care of those tedious but necessary matters. After so many years, he was used to having her by his side. But he would never see her again. Darren, the Mo Alliance army has started to gather, the subordinate reported from outside the door. Jiang Ji's fist balled tightly, the joints turning white. His usually warm pupils were as vicious and brutal as a wild beast. He stared hard at the two extinguished lanterns. A moment later, he relaxed his fists and the savagery in his eyes disappeared. His gaze became warm again. Have everyone start to prepare. We will proceed according to the original plan. The warm voice was just the same as usual. The subordinate at the door sighed in relief and his expression became alert as though he found support again. He hurriedly responded, yes. Hearing the sounds of the subordinate going away, Jiang Zhe raised his eyes and murmured gently. It will not be long before I flatten Cloud Sijie. In Cloud Sijie, almost no one knew about the battle that had killed Xian Kong Temple's battalion. Scouts only reported that a battalion had suddenly appeared near the Jie River but was quickly exterminated. This matter did not cause any ripples. Everyone found that it was matter of fact. Even the Mo battalions fell at the foot of Lil Miss Darren, which battalion could stop Vermilion Bird Camp. Right now, Turtle Island's rule of Cloud Sijie was rock solid. Even though Turtle Island's forces that remained were not strong, these little factions also did not have great ambitions. Lil Miss had not given up his plan of going to reinforce Sui Mo. Even though his plan had reached a roadblock when he encountered a Zhagu, but a person like Lil Miss that was unusually stubborn of regarding victory would not easily give up. The state of Middle Granary Jie had stabilized. As Golden Crow Camp's success with Mo matrices and formations increased, they would continue to grow stronger. In this battle, the hate between them and Xian Kong Temple would only increase. There would not be any possibility that this could be resolved peacefully. However, Gong Sun Cha had never thought that there was a possibility of a peaceful resolution. Would an elephant try to reach a resolution with an ant? That was a joke. There was insanity flowing in Gong Sun Cha's blood. He was not afraid. Fighting against Xian Kong Temple would only make him excited. Compared to Xian Kong Temple, what he cared about more was Sui Mo Shixiang. Right now, he was considering if he should fight a Zhagu again or find another Jie had that a chaos rift. He quickly threw the idea of finding another Jie to the back of his mind. This was not very plausible. It was already good fortune to find Middle Granary Jie. It was more realistic to go find a Zhagu. Lil Miss decided to first go find a Zhagu and have a discussion. If that did not work, then he would just fight. Gong Sun Cha, whose mind was full of ideas on how to reach Sui Mo as fast as possible, forgot that he had just reached an alliance with a Zhagu not long ago. What happened in Cloud Sijie did not cause a ripple in the Four Realms. Everyone's gaze was attracted by another string of events. Kuan Lun Shui Dong had conquered Fortune Wood Jie. This was the second Jia the Xiuzhe had taken over. Even though it was not as momentous as Jiangzhe, Kunlun also displayed their strength to the world. Just a few days later, two explosive pieces of news appeared. Tianhuan's Gongye Xiaorong had taken over Black Rock Jie. Shi Xian's Guliang Dao conquered North Gauze Jie. Gongye Xiaorong was a famed battle general from Tianhuan, but the name Guliang Dao was unfamiliar to everyone and he appeared out of nowhere. However, this did not stop the celebrations of the people of the Four Realms. Everyone was filled with hope about the war now that the four great sects had all advanced. Everyone dreamed that the four great sects could continue their victory over the Yaomua after the 1,000-year war. The development of the state of affairs appeared natural as people had predicted this. Zhou Mo gaped as he listened with astonishment to Xu Long and the others' narration. Thinking that he had been the cause of that terrifying scene, Zhou Mo felt even worse. However, Zhou Mo's first response was to run into the sea of consciousness and hurriedly asked Pu Yao and Wei, "Would today affect our plan?" Pu Yao and Wei did not speak and looked at Zhou Mo as though they were looking at a freak. Zhou Mo became impatient. Talk. According to their previous plan, Zhou Mo needed to attract the attention of the large families. However, even Zhou Mo felt he had gone overboard with today's display. What he was worried about was that if this affected the plan, he would not be able to attract the arrival of Princess Xiao. That would be bad. Do not worry. The one who spoke was Pu Yao. Even though his expression was strange, he still spoke. This display of yours can definitely attract Princess Xiao. That's good. Zhou Mo seemed to be relieved of a great burden. Zhou, you are very talented. Wei said with a smile. These words caused Pu Yao to instantly have a wary expression. You only noticed now. In a good mood, Zhou Mo lazily replied. Then he suddenly looked with a heated gaze at Zhou Mo, his thumb and index finger rubbing together. He asked with begging eyes, "Is there a reward? Such a genius is in front of you, will you not express something?" Seeing Wei's shocked expression, Zhou Mo felt very disappointed. He looked disdainfully at Wei and muttered, "So this is just empty praise. Ha, are people that only give empty praise in this era? The honored gravestone armor, such a lowering of status." Finishing, he left without another glance at Wei. Looking at Wei frozen in his spot, Pu Yao gave a roaring and carefree laugh. Coming out of the sea of consciousness, Zhou Mo saw Tsing Lianer's serene eyes. "How come you are able to cause a movement in the stars?" Tsing Lianer's voice seemed to become ethereal in the night. "Because." Zhou Mo, who had not been rewarded, looked at her bewitching face with a serious expression as he said with emphasis, "I am a genius." Finishing, he disregarded Tsing Lianer's wide eyes and walked towards his rooms. In reality, even he didn't know why he would cause the shifting star sand. After being awake for a night, he didn't feel tired at all. He felt as though his body contained endless power. Entering the room, he quickly sank into meditation. He needed to have a good study of his breakthrough today. Also, he remembered that something seemed to float out when those starlight charged into the Sun Mo matrix at the center of his chest. In meditation, Zhou Mo did not have joy nor sorrow on his face. Every piece of muscle, blood and bone inside his body was perfectly visualized. The completely new 3-power system was so enchanting. Countless images flowed across his mind. He suddenly opened his eyes and his expression seemed slightly excited. He finally knew what had came into his mind the moment the Sun Mo matrix had been flooded, the first transformation of the 10-crow celestial apparatus. Chapter 584, Low Opinion. Bu Heng's expression was extremely dark. He had been deeply impacted when he saw Zhou Mo cause the shifting star's sands. More accurately, he had a strong feeling of danger. It was not a wise course of action to be enemies with a genius that could cause worldly apparitions. However, their grudge was already set in stone. It was too late to peacefully resolve this. Bu Heng was still calm. The mind of a gold battle general was as strong and hard as stone. Viciousness flashed across his face. The best way to deal with a genius youth was to kill it in its cradle before they grew up. Genius youths before they became stronger did not have more lives than anyone else. He decided to personally get in contact with a person. Zhuo Mo flipped through the mountain of invitations but his face fell. There isn't one from the Anwei family. Not just Anwei family, there wasn't an invitation from the top families. These were all invitations from small families. Zhuo Mo, who had been extremely interested and filled with pride, seemed to have been hit over the head and felt very depressed. Is it because my performance is not eye-catching enough? Zhuo Mo pondered. It is not that you are not eye-catching. Pu Yao was experienced and explained. You have displayed great potential, but 1, your origins are unknown, and 2, you have not been tested in real combat. Pang Chen is a famous warrior, but in Great Peace City, he is not ranked. The bigger the family, the more cautious and strict their tests. Zhuo Mo understood. His eyebrow raised, so they don't feel that I am strong enough. You can understand it this way. There was a careless smile on Pu Yao's face. You have showed strong potential, but if that potential cannot become strength, it is forever potential. The internal competition in those families isn't something you can imagine. They have many youths with potential. What they need are experts, not youths with potential. I understand. Zhuo Mo stood up. It seems that I need to defeat some strong people before I can attract their attention. Without another word, he went to find Tao Xing. Tao Xing's attitude towards Zhuo Mo had completely changed now. He had been astounded by the worldly apparition that night. Originally, he had felt somewhat proud because he was a city master. Wherever he went, people respected him. However, that bit of ego had dissipated. Shifting star sand, a worldly apparition that only existed in the legends, actually occurred in front of him. Compared to the other, Tao Xing didn't feel that he was really worth something. Tao Xing's attitude was respectful. Darren, for what have you found me for? Zhuo Mo was slightly surprised at Tao Xing's attitude, but he did not inquire about it. He asked directly, tell me about the experts of Great Peace City. The experts of Great Peace City? Tao Xing paused. Inside, he thought, was this young man going to make a challenge again? In his mind, Zhuo Mo was someone that was restless. But since Zhuo Mo asked, Tao Xing decided to give him a good explanation so that Zhuo Mo would understand who he could provoke and who he could not. There are many experts in Great Peace City and they are all called famous warriors. However, there are ranks among these famous people. Pang Chen, who you defeated, is only a normal famous person, and was unranked. These famous warriors are general level and have MO physiques. The experts among the famous warrior have a ranking called the Great Peace MO ranking. It records the 20 most powerful experts in Great Peace City. The 3 strongest are Chang Yuan Hao, Yu Shuang and Nanmeng Shui. They are just a step away from martial rank. Qi Jiao Yu is also at this level, but it has been many years since he appeared in Great Peace City, so his name is not on the Great Peace MO ranking. Zhuo Mo listened carefully. The second tier is the 4th to 12th spots. The experts of this level have been in general level for many years and are experts that have comprehended boundary. The third tier is the 13th to the 20th positions. The experts of this level have not comprehend boundary, but if they are not cultivating an unique MO physique, they use a powerful MO skill in order to reach this spot on the Great Peace MO ranking. Lan Tian Long is this level. He is 18th. Under them is the famous warrior ranking. The people on the Great Peace MO ranking are not ones that we can challenge. Most of them have come for the Great Peace MO skill steals, and do not attend to outside matters. In comparison, the changes in the famous warrior rankings is more intense. The possibility of victory is also greater. If you are interested, you can try the famous person rankings. Tao Xing said probingly to Zhuo Mo. If this one had to make a challenge, then it would be best if he went to the famous warrior ranking. It was alright for him to try the famous warrior ranking since he had killed Pang Chen in 2 moves and Pang Chen's ranking on the famous warrior ranking was not low. Zhuo Mo glanced at him, asking, what is the 20th person on the Great Peace Mo ranking called? Tao Xing's face instantly turned ashen, his heart beating rapidly. He said timidly, Darren, you can start from the famous warrior ranking, this also has many experts. Famous warrior ranking? Zhuo Mo's head shook like a rattle drum. Just by listening to it, he knew the weight of the famous warrior ranking was not enough. In order to move an ancient family like the Anwei family which had high standards, if he could not reach the Great Peace Mo ranking, the other wouldn't even look at him properly. Thinking about the pile of stupid invitations, Zhuo Mo's eyes twitched, he was being underestimated. The 20th of Great Peace Mo ranking. Zhuo Mo's attitude was determined. Tao Xing shrunk back under Zhuo Mo's pressuring gaze. He said with a startled heart, Miao Jun. Miao Jun. Zhuo Mo repeated, his gaze murderous. Tao Xing looked at Zhuo Mo's vicious expression. His legs softened and he sat down on the ground. Zha Gu was slightly shocked. Gong Sun Cha had come to find him again. He did not know why. The two of them had just entered an alliance. Did Gong Sun Cha had some new ideas? Brother Gong Sun, is there something that you come to find this one with? Zha Gu was not afraid and directly asked. Zha Ge's straightforward attitude suited Gong Sun Cha's appetites. He said seriously, this one wants Brother Zha Gu to give up the Chaos Rift. Zha Ge's expression suddenly changed and his eyes darkened. What does Brother Gong Sun mean? Gong Sun Cha knew that he was the one asking something outrageous but there was no reasoning that could be spoken of in this matter. He was silent for a moment before saying, this one is compelled by the circumstances. This one is willing to make this up to Brother Zha Gu in other places. Zha Gu smiled coldly. This one wants to hear the circumstances. Gong Sun Cha was very honest and narrated the situation. Other than not saying Zhuo Mo's name, he did not conceal anything else. After Zha Gu heard this, his anger dissipated. He was a person that was attuned to details and he naturally could hear the truthfulness of Gong Sun Cha's words. He still shook his head. Brother Gong Sun is a good friend and this one is moved. However, Orchid Home Jia is an important part of my clan and definitely cannot be given up. If brother wants to go though, that is fine. Lil Miss shook his head. We will successively send out battalions. We also need more MO experts in order to increase our reinforcements. Zha Gu suddenly laughed. Brother Gong Sun is really fantasizing. The Yaomua have deep hate with Xiuzha, how can they work for you? Gong Sun Cha glanced at Zha Gu, saying, Brother Zha Gu, please wait for a moment. A short while later, a large crowd of MO suddenly appeared in front of Lil Miss and bowed to him. Zha Gu suddenly stood up. He stared at the MO in front of him and almost didn't believe his eyes. MO. True MO. What surprised him even more was that they were all Brigadier MO. Even within his battalion, these would be elite members. There were dozens of them in front of him. I believe that Brother Zha Gu can see that they are truly MO and we have not put Jinji in them. Gong Sun Cha's words came. Zha Gu stared hard at this MO. He suddenly asked in a deep voice, why are you working for Xiuzha? Des brow furrowed. Who is working for Xiu? We are in the service of our king. King. Zha Gu almost froze where he stood. He was sure that his smart mind wasn't enough to use today. He saw a group of Brigadier MO within a Xiuzha battalion and then these MO were saying they were in the service of king. Then what were these Xiuzha? Just like he did not believe that MO would stay in the service of Xiuzha, he also did not believe that Xiuzha would work for MO, even if he was king. De was very displeased at the other's gaze. However, He still narrated how their king had been lost to the Shouja world, how he had cultivated the great Daimyo physique by himself, how he had created a Shouja battalion, how he had fought against Yiling Daran and received everyone's loyalty. These absurd words were being spoken by a brigadier Mo, and when this was said as she stood with several dozen Mo, it became extremely convincing. But Ajia Gu felt it was incomprehensible. Looking at Yi De's troops, he was motionless for a long time. Gongsun Cha glanced over. This was possible. He hurriedly pulled Ajia Gu to watch for Million Bird Camp's new tactics. Ajia Gu's mind, which had been dizzy, suddenly cleared up. His eyes widened as he stared hard at this battalion. He could see that the skeleton of this battalion was still the battalion that he had fought against before, but that the Brigadier Mo had been added. This was the first battalion he had ever seen that was composed of Shouja and Mo mixed together. This kind of heterogeneous battalion had extremely unique tactics. Even though he was only seeing the foot of the mountain, he still inhaled sharply. Such a transformation. In this short time, this battalion had completely transformed. Their present strength caused Ajia Gu's heart to beat wildly. His gaze turned to that bashful youth that had the face of an innocent neighbor's boy. For some reason, coldness continuously corroded his bravery and was unable to be suppressed. His limbs felt cold. As one of the three great battle generals of the stellar Rahula clan, Ajia Gu never lacked for bravery. But his face was ashen as though he had just been defeated in a battle. He knew that if the two fought again, he had no chance of victory. The faint smile on Gongsun Cha's face was so profound. Ajia Gu did not know what had happened in these days that a battalion could transform so completely. This youth. He saw the insanity and stubbornness in the depths of Gongsun Cha and suddenly understood, he's a madman. Chapter 585, Gamble. Yes, he caused the shifting star sands, all of Great Peace City saw it, and he also broke Qi Diaoye's record. Many families are starting to pay attention to him. Continue to monitor the situation. Should we make contact? There are many people noticing him. Do not worry too much. With his present fame, no major family would offer him a high price. As for those small families, even if they recruit him, it would not be hard for us to pull him over. But no one is stupid. The shifting star sands are very powerful and show that he has potential. However, those that are worth us acting are geniuses that can grow and live to become experts. Yes, Buheng is acting against him. Should we make contact? Why should we? You have to understand those that cannot survive are of no value to us. Yes. Go and help Buheng. However, do not leave any clues behind. It is the shifting star sands, you have to give him some special treatment. I feel some anticipation. Yes, this subordinate understands. Go. The shifting star sands worldly manifestation only remained in the minds of the people of Great Peace City for a few days before it was quickly replaced by major news of the Four Realms' victories on all fronts. The power of the four great sects caused both the Yao and the Mo to become nervous, especially the Mo. In the battles of Blood Sky Metropolis Jia, the Yao had suffered heavy casualties, but the Mo had been largely unharmed and not really felt any pain. However, of the four Jia which had been conquered, 3 belonged to the Mo. A strong feeling of danger seemed to press down on them. Fortunately, the 3 Jia that were taken were all very far from Great Peace City. But terror and nervousness still uncontrollably spread. Something like this was not something that could be reversed by one expert unless a king personally acted. But while the Mo would have king-level experts, the Shouja also had people in the Deshang realm. The fighting between experts of this level were on a strategic level. Unless it was a crucial time, neither side would act as the risks were too high. As long as there were enough people and resources, a battalion could be reconstructed again in a few years and were naturally restored. But experts of such a high level, if one died, there would not be one to replace them. Not just king, even a Mo marshal was very difficult to nurture. This could be seen from how many general levels were stuck at the very edge of martial level in Great Peace City. A string of defeats suddenly caused all of Great Peace City to become more solemn. Everyone lost interest in chatting and were all worried. "Brother Miao, what do you think?" An extremely elegant Mo looked with worry at Miao Jun. Miao Jun did not have a large figure. He had a square face with sharply defined features that slightly showed his age. His eyes were a crisp green, his figure stocky, and he sat there casually but with presence. Miao Jun thought and then said gravely, "This is not a strange development." "Not strange." His friend's interest was stirred by this and he hurriedly asked, "How is this not strange?" Miao Jun said in a low voice, "No matter if people verbally agree or not, the Xiuzhi are stronger than the Yaoma, this is the truth. This is caused by the results of the 1,000-year war, and no one can change this. In the past, we had the Blood Sky Metropolis Jia as a barrier, but now without it to serve as a border we are all mixed together. We lost the buffer between us and now have to face them and fight. At this time, what matters is strength. So it is not strange that we have lost. So according to Brother Miao, doesn't this mean that we will definitely lose in the end?" another person asked in disagreement. "Losing in the beginning is already set in stone, but it is hard to say what is going to happen later on." Miao Jun's tone was calm and his thoughts clear. "The Xiuzhi have started to gain victories, so they will keep on advancing, and we will keep retreating. Many things will change in this cycle of advances and retreats. The other will be fighting on foreign land, and once the battle lines are drawn out, they will be tired out in maintaining it. We look to be retreating, but we have an advantage in fighting on home territory. Also, with the calamity and battles many clans will be destroyed, and we will not have any more places to retreat to. When we are fighting with our backs to the precipice, we will be determined." The speech was rational and clear. All of them sighed in agreement. At this time, Miao Jun's gaze suddenly focused and he shouted in a deep voice, "Which friend has come here? Why do you not come forward?" Clap clap clap. As Suemo walked in, he clapped. He was not pretending, he truly felt that the other had spoken well. The complex state of matters was simplified by the other into clear and concise points. Just this foresight alone was unusual. Little Mo Gu was someone that had seen great things. Xiao Mo Gu. Miao Jun's expression was surprised. He was not the only one. The expressions of the people around him instantly became strange. Everyone recognized the youth in front of them. Was this that Xiao Mo Gu that just a while ago had caused the shifting star sands? Zhua Mo was examining Miao Jun. Miao Jun was also examining Xiao Mo Gu. Miao Jun had been astounded by the shifting star sands that night, but what he felt more of was admiration. In terms of talent, he and the other people of the Great Peace Mo rankings did not lack for it. Otherwise, they would not have gotten on the Great Peace Mo ranking. However, compared to a freak that could have shifting star sand, their presence instantly became dim in the light of that person. Miao Jun sometimes would think if he could have the shifting star sand once, even if he could not enter martial level, he would not have a problem comprehending boundary. But no matter how jealous he was, after being shocked for 2 days, the matter had settled. So when Miao Jun saw Zhua Mo, he was just slightly surprised. "I had originally come to challenge Brother Miao." When Zhua Mo spoke, the room instantly became silent. Everyone was shocked by his words. "But when I heard Brother Miao's speech just now, this one is in great admiration of Brother Miao's foresight and suddenly changed ideas." Zhua Mo spoke smoothly as though he thought himself a very strong person and did not show any timidity. Miao Jun suddenly felt it was very humorous and asked interestedly, "Oh, how did you change your opinion? When he was young, wasn't he also as green as this?" The other people could not suppress their amused expressions, especially when they saw Zhua Mo's serious expression. Some even laughed. In their eyes, Zhua Mo was a complete greenhorn while Miao Jun was someone who had been famed for a long time. Right now, the greenhorn was swaying his head and lecturing in front of someone famous, wasn't this funny? Suemo did not seem to feel the others laughing at him. He said with a serious expression, I believe that Brother Miao is an exceptional battle general. Miao Jun was slightly surprised. He would occasionally speak about matters of the world, but no one had ever connected him to being a battle general. It seemed that this youth had very sensitive perception. Miao Jun's heart shook slightly. So I hope that Brother Miao can come help me. Suemo said with a serious expression. Everyone's smiles seemed to freeze on their faces. Their eyes were wide as they looked at Suemo, their expressions strange. A moment later. Ha! One person finally could not stop himself and slammed the floor in laughter as though he heard the funniest joke in the world. The laughter seemed to be infectious and quickly spread. All the people in the room roared with laughter. Ha! He wants to recruit Brother Miao. He actually wants to recruit Brother Miao. Ha 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 ha. Did I hear it right? What day is it today? I'm going to die from laughing. A little child actually ran over and Sirius wanted to recruit Miao Jun. This was the funniest matter in the history of Great Peace City. Even Miao Jun couldn't help but laugh. I'm very sorry, my present life is already very good. Suemo suddenly said, you wouldn't even consider it for celestial azure essence. Miao Jun's smile suddenly froze and he abruptly stood up. You have celestial azure essence. He unconsciously stepped forward and grabbed at Suemo did not dodge. A light flashed in his eyes and his presence was suddenly released. Luo Li shut himself off in the room. His complexion had recovered from its previous pale tone. The content of Life-Death Lock flashed through his mind. He had spent the last days studying this art that was completely irrational without any rest. For him, death was not a difficult matter. Sometimes, it would take more bravery to live than to die. This bravery might just be a reason or a thread of hope. Luo Li did not have anything to hesitate about. His heart that had returned to life was grasping at a hope so small it was almost non-existent. Entering the state of death could stimulate the greatest potential of a person. Then it could reconstruct Luo Li, right? Even if this only allowed him to just see her one last time. Luo Li slowly closed his eyes. He let the darkness take over his world but his lips were curled in a smile. Suomo's explosive presence was like a tsunami that lost its restraints and flowed in all directions. Miao Jun's eyes suddenly lit up. They were like suns and unable to be stared at directly. The other people changed expression. All laughter was choked off. They panicked, fled outside. This presence made them feel suffocated. The presence that Xiao Mo Gu gave off was not weaker than Miao Jun at all. Are you going to come? Suomo's voice was deep. Miao Jun smiled coldly. Depends on whether you have the skill. Defeating you? Suemo did not dodge Miao Jun's blinding gaze and continued to ask. You have celestial azure essence? Miao Jun asked in response. Yes. Suemo was crisp. Miao Jun's expression changed. He clearly was conflicted inside. Wei, you are so evil. Suemo thought inside but his expression was proper. Why don't we have a bet? Bet? Miao Jun's eyes narrowed. Yes, let's have a fight. You lose, then you follow me, you win, the celestial azure essence is yours, Suemo threw out the bait. How do I know that you have the celestial azure essence? Miao Jun said, unconvinced. You can gamble whether or not I have it. Suemo was not affected. Miao Jun's eyes narrowed even more, and the light grew brighter. He said coldly, if you lose, I will not let you die so easily. When I lose, you will have a lot of time to do as you wish. Suemo said coldly. Inside, he looked with sympathy at Miao Jun. Wei, you are so devious. As expected, the more of a fortune-teller one was, the worse they were. Chapter 586, A Strong Presence. After their discussion, Aja Gu worriedly returned to the clan, did not even have the time to report about this matter with Gong Sun Cha before he was stunned by the bad news. Gongye Xiao Rong had taken over Black Stone Jia, Bai Shan and Delay both were killed in battle. He almost thought he was hearing it wrong. After asking 3 times and still getting the same answer, he froze where he stood. In a flash, only Aja Gu was left of the 3 great Streller Rahula battle generals. A grieving atmosphere covered all of Orchid Home Jia. Bai Shan and Delay had been the elite of the Rahula clan. Now that their entire army had been killed, the stellar Rahula clan was greatly impacted. Aja Gu, who had froze for a long time, felt cold, his face was pale. If Crow Stone Jia was taken over, the other could point their attack at Orchid Home Jia at any time. Crow Stone Jia and Orchid Home Jia had many Jia rivers connecting them. It was easy to attack but hard to defend. The other could easily enter Orchid Home Jia. This meant that the enemy could appear at any time. A grieving Aja Gu knew that the situation was running out of time. If the battalions of Tianhuan reached Orchid Home Jia, they would not be able to escape in time. With only Aja Gu's 1 battalion left, the Rahula clan was not the other's match. Abandon anything heavy. Retreat from Orchid Home Jia at the fastest speed. Go towards White Stone Jia. Aja Gu's hurried voice echoed. Before he could finish, the alarmed voice of a scout interrupted Aja Gu. Darren. Enemy scouts have appeared near the Jia River. Aja Gu's face instantly turned gray. So fast. Looking at the old, weak, ill and crippled, Aja Gu's heart felt cold. Was today the day that the stellar Rahula clan would die? There was no time. The speed of the weak clan members would not outrun the enemy battalion. What also was hopeless was that Orchid Home Jia was completely flat and had no defensive structures. The other had greater numbers and he could not even delay them for any significant amount of time. Would he only be able to watch his clan's people be killed? The hopeless and terrified gazes of his clan people deeply pierced and pained Aja Gu's heart. Just as the last thread inside almost faded, he suddenly thought of a person. A daring idea appeared in his mind. The time did not allow him to think. At this time, he was like a man drowning that grabbed at a life-saving reed. He didn't hesitate, turning and flying furiously towards the chaos rift. Gong Sun Cha saw Aja Gu return not long after he had left. He felt slightly surprised. When he had interacted with Aja Gu these few times, he had a general understanding of the other's personality. The other was decisive and resolute, someone that would not easily waver. When Aja Gu saw Lil Miss, a conflicted expression came onto his face. But he gritted his teeth and knelt down with a bang. My stellar Rahula clan is willing to serve under our king. Aja Gu's words were very measured. What he submitted to was not Gong Sun Cha but the king's service. This way, no one could say anything. Gong Sun Cha was slightly stunned. Aja Gu's move was too sudden. He didn't believe a domineering presence could shock the other and have them submit. He naturally noticed what meaning the words, submitting to the king's service meant. But he did not care. What he wanted was Orchid Home Jia and this chaos rift. Aja Gu is willing to gift Orchid Home Jia and asks for nothing else except for Darren to protect the lineage of my Rahula clan. Aja Gu said sorrowfully. Gong Sun Cha did not immediately respond and asked in curiosity, what is going on? Aja Gu was pressed for time, but he knew if he did not clearly explain, the other definitely would not believe him. He pushed down his urgency and rapidly narrated the situation. Lil Miss was a smart person. When he finished listening to the situation, he knew what was going on. Orchid Home Jia was the best starting place they had found up until now. For this opportunity, Lil Miss had even fought with Aja Gu. While Tianhuan's Gongye Xiao Rong was famous, at this time Lil Miss showed his shocking decisiveness. He did not hesitate. Depart. Vermilion Bird Camp passed through the Chaos Rift at full speed and left for Orchid Home Jia. Flying at full speed, the wind blew across the bangs on Lil Miss' forehead. The bashful and harmless face was now like a sword that was unsheathed, full of edges and murderousness. He did not fear Xian Kong Temple, he also did not fear Tian Huan. They wanted to take food from his mouth. No one could do it. When Vermilion Bird Camp flew into the city of Stellar Rahula, they instantly caused a furor. Gong Sun Cha did not hesitate and said to Ajia Gu, "Have them retreat towards the Chaos Rift." Ajia Gu had a moved expression. He knew that Gong Sun Cha's words would save many members of his clan. He hurriedly sent a subordinate to give the order while he led his battalion to follow Vermilion Bird Camp. Gong Sun Cha sent a message to the battalion that was standing guard in Middle Granary Jia and for them to settle these Stellar Rahula clan members. At this time, a Jia guest scout reported back. The Tian Huan battalion has already crossed the Jia River. Ajia Gu looked at Lil Mississippi. Since he had submitted, he would naturally follow Lil Miss' orders. Looking at the members of his clan that were retreating towards the Chaos Rift, Ajia Gu was content. Even if he were to die in battle today, he would not have any regrets. Since Gong Sun Cha could tolerate the MO in Vermilion Bird Camp, he could naturally tolerate the Stellar Rahula clan. Even if Lil Miss had him launch a suicide attack on the Tian Huan battalion, he would not hesitate. He looked at Lil Miss and waited for his order. A flash of insanity passed through Gong Sun Cha's eyes, but his expression was indifferent as he said, "Go welcome them." Vermilion Bird Camp and a Jia guest battalion were like two floods that flew towards the Jia River. 6 hours later, they met the Tian Huan battalion. Gongye Xiaorong's appearance was extremely average, one that would be hard to find in a crowd of people. He was wearing a nondescript light blue cloth robe. There was no ephemeral presence, no sharp killing energy. He was someone that was extremely plain and not like a cultivator at all. However, a group of battle generals that flashed with treasure light swarmed around him, and so his plain cloth robe became an unusual contrast. Yet it was this person that looked average and normal that took over Black Stone Jia and also killed 2 elite armies of the Stellar Rahula clan. In terms of beauty, Gongye Xiaorong's fighting style was even better than Jiang Zhe taking over Cold Mountain Jia. There are Xiuzhe battalions here. Gongye Xiaorong was slightly surprised. He was not the only one. All the battle generals around him had shocked expressions, but more of their expressions darked. In their eyes, Orchid Home Jia was like a mature peach. They had waited for a long time, but now someone else had suddenly taken over it. Their mood could be imagined. "Send someone to ask where they are from," Gongye Xiaorong said interestedly. He could see that the Rahula clan seemed to have surrendered to this Xiuzhe battalion. Another battalion had taken over another Jia. This was very unexpected. Up until now, only the 4 great sects had achieved victories. Now a battalion of unknown origins had come out halfway. How could he not be interested? A combat shio flew out of the Tian Huan battalion. This combat shio's body flashed with all kinds of light, and it could be seen from the talismans he had that they were of extraordinary grade. Tian Huan was skilled in seals, formations, and forging. In the field of talismans, they were the top of the 4 realms. Under the shine of the treasure light, the combat shio seemed of great bearing. Facing the 2 battalions, he did not show any fear. He looked down and said coldly, "Someone who can make decisions, come out and respond." The other's careless tone caused the people around Lil Miss to become angry. The other was so proud and rude. Gong Sun Cha's bashful face, like that of the neighbor's body, had a faint smile. That pair of eyes that were as warm as sunlight flashed with killing intent and craziness. "Xia Shan, take his head." Xia Shan had been waiting for this. He instantly turned into a sword light and shot at the other. He was very fast. A golden sword light suddenly appeared in front of the other. This combat Xiuzhe just felt a dot of golden light suddenly show up in front of him and blinded him. Instantly, a cold sword essence locked onto him and his face immediately changed. He shouted loudly, "You dare!" Panicked, the Ling armor of the Tianhuan combat Shio lit up. Countless transparent seal scripts protected him. The gold light heavily hit the seal scripts. Bam! A crisp sound, the Tianhuan combat Shio's expression changed slightly. The Ling armor on his body had shattered with one blow. However, what reassured him was that the other's blow had still been stopped. Yet before he could celebrate, a little tiny golden light flew out of the exploding ball of golden light and flashed directly across his neck. Like a knife cutting tofu. The head shot up and blood sprayed out in a pillar. That tiny golden light flashed and disappeared. Along with the bigger golden light, they returned to Xia Shan's hands. Everyone finally saw that the flying swords in Xia Shan's hands were a pair of golden flying swords, one big and one small. Paired mirage sword. The Tianhuan combat Shio were first stunned and then infuriated. The battle formation shifted and many combat Shio wanted to charge immediately out of anger. The smile on Lil Miss' face grew, and his tone was as sharp as a blade. Formation. Vermilion Bird Camp's battle formation silently changed. The combat Shio on the two flanks slid back multiple steps and the entire combat formation changed. Sharp killing intent radiated. It was like a wild beast whose body was arced forward slightly, waiting to pounce in a lightning attack. The Tianhuan battalion that had been shifting instantly quieted. They were an elite battalion that had been through many battles and were very sensitive to killing intent. They instantly detected the other battalion had locked onto them. If they continued to be restless, the battle formation would show flaws which the other would immediately attack. The restless combat Shio instantly calmed down. All of them started to prepare for battle. Gongye Xiaorong's face became dark. He narrowed his eyes. Only now did the presence he gave off turn into something that could not be concealed by this plain cloth robe. A strong feeling of suppression caused Gongye Xiaorong to feel pressure. Professionals could detect if others had talent. The other just changed his formation slightly and Gongye Xiaorong knew he had encountered a strong enemy. However, he still felt surprised by the other's strong attitude and viciousness. There was no buffer in the entire process. It was so clean and crisp he smelled the scent of danger. Who were they? Chapter 587, Tit for Tat. This one is Tianhuan's Gongye Xiaorong. Gongye Xiaorong smiled and bowed in the direction of Gongsun Cha. The generals under his commander were all shocked. They had not expected Darren to be the first to show weakness to the other. The enemy had killed their combat Shio in front of them without even asking for a reason, yet Darren proactively showed weakness first. Many people had rebellious expressions. They were Tianhuan. When had Tianhuan been humiliated so? Yes. This was a humiliation. Almost everyone had prepared to fight, wanting to charge and kill all of them. None of them had expected Darren to show weakness. If Gongye Xiaorong's authority was not as secure as it was, the rebellious battle generals would have started to talk already. This one is Gongsun Cha. Lil Miss still had a sunny smile. In the eyes of the Tianhuan battle generals, this was an extreme eyesore. Gongsun Cha. Never heard of this person. Gongye Xiaorong thought carefully and was certain that he really had not heard the name before. He noticed the other only gave his name but not his origins. There was something to ponder here. Also, a battalion like this should not be unknown. Gongye Xiaorong's eyes flashed and were meaningful. It was not so easy to form a strong battalion. Gongye Xiaorong had went through the process of building one and knew very well how difficult it was. Was there a faction that had targeted a position among the Great Four from the shadows? This was the first thought that flashed through his mind. But when he thought, he couldn't help but laugh soundlessly. This thought was nonsense. As expected, heroes come from the youth. Brother Gongsun is so young and in charge of a battalion. Xiao Rong was just whiling away the days in the past. Gongya Xiao Rong had a smile. But then his tone changed. But why is Brother Gongsun in cahoots with the MO? Gongsun Che's smile was like a flower. His tone was warm but his words were very sharp. In cahoots with the MO? Brother Gong, yes, words are strange. This sect has taken over Orchid Home Jia. The stellar Rahula clan admires our sect's conduct and is willing to submit, turning from evil towards the right path. Isn't such an action something our generation pursues? Then his tone changed. But your battalion still sent your big army after our sect has taken Orchid Home Jia. Is Tian Huan so unreasonable? Are you bullying little sects like us? Lil Miss smiled as he spoke, sometimes full of gentleness, and then his tone turned murderousness. But while he was uttering complete falsehoods, he was extremely composed. At the side Jia Gu felt cold inside. What take over Orchid Home Jia? In just a few words, Lil Miss established his position. Truth and falsehood, it was hard for the other to pick out which was which. Jia Gu decided he did not want to be enemies with Lil Miss in this life. If he had an enemy like this, he probably wouldn't even know how he died. Gongya Xiao Rong did not know what to say. Just a step late, and his judgment had made a great mistake. He was not the only one. Even his soldiers really thought that Lil Miss had really taken over Orchid Home Jia. But those soldiers did not care. So what if the other got here first? They could take it. They were yearning to go and wanted to charge. The other was not weak, but they were full of confidence and completely did not have a good opinion of the enemy. Gongya Xiao Rong stared at the other. He did not believe what Gongsun Cha said, but he could not pick out any holes in the story. As to the problem of the MO, the Xiuzha had always been divided into two sides on the issue. One group wanted to kill all the MO, and not leave any living. The other would allow the MO to submit to them and advocated for gentle treatment. Both groups had their support in the Xiuzha world, so regarding the problem of the MO, Gongya Xiao Rong could not pick any faults. What he considered was far more than his soldiers. This war would probably continue for a very long time. Tian Huan was one of the Great Four and they had to take care of their reputation and image. If they stole whenever they encountered someone weaker than them, how could they ally with other sects? He did not care about Orchid Home Jia. Orchid Home Jia was easy to attack but hard to defend. In terms of value, it was worth far less than Black Stone Jia. However, a cold light flashed through Gongya Xiao Rong's eyes. They had to give something in response to his subordinate being killed. However, the one that is killed is one of this one's people. This is still an issue. Gongya Xiao Rong slowly spoke. This one expresses deep apology for that, and is willing to pay reparations, Gongsun Cha said with an innocent expression. Gongya Xiao Rong's soldiers became furious, their eyes sprouting blood. There is no need for reparations. Blades are blind. The Xiuzha that go onto the battlefield need to understand they can die on the battlefield. This one's brothers have been proud for many years, and are very competitive upon seeing Brother Gongsun's brothers today. Please, Brother Gongsun, help me teach my brothers. Finishing, he did not wait for Lil Miss to speak. He turned around and said, Di Li, pick 50 brothers and ask for guidance from this Gongsun Darren. Yes. A black-faced man stood up and accepted the order. The smile on Gongsun Cha's face was still the same. Since Brother Gongya has such interest, this little brother will naturally go along. Ida, take your team, go. Ida had an excited expression. He shot out of the ranks and said seriously, will not fail Darren's expectations. Relax, relax. Lil Miss smiled. But Ida's expression was determined. To be able to be picked by Darren at such an important time, Darren's intentions of nurturing him was evident. No matter what, he had to win. He stared murderously at the enemy. Di Li stared back hard at Ida. Ida suddenly grinned like a wild beast staring at its prey and bared its sharp teeth. The challenge stadium was filled with crowds. The bet and challenge between Zhua Mo and Miao Jun spread through all of Great Peace City like a wind. Countless people flowed towards the challenge stadium. The challenge stadium in Great Peace City had been set down with Jinji by the two Mo marshals. If people under marshal level fought inside, the backlash would not break through the Jinji. General level had the power to upend seas. When the two Yuanying had fought in Su Ling City, all of Su Ling City had been destroyed. If these general levels could fight where they wished, Great Peace City would have been turned to ash a long time ago. Compared to the fight between Zhua Mo and Pang Cheng, this fight attracted more attention. One was an youth that caused the shifting star sand, the other was someone from the Great Peace Mo ranking. The challenge between these two could naturally attract the eyes of people. The Great Peace Mo ranking represented the top 20 experts in Great Peace City. Those that could get onto the ranking had undoubted power. Xiao Mo Gu, who had caused the shifting star sands, was also seen by the entire city. A challenge of such significance was something that caused people's blood to boil just thinking about it. The bet between Miao Ju and Xiao Mo Gu also added light to this significant challenge. Xiao Mo Gu's attention-catching style and his domineering nature did not match his age at all. More people felt surprised that Xiao Mo Gu had found Miao Jun. Was it because Xiao Mo Gu had such great confidence, or did he know something that no one else knew? But these thoughts were just the footnotes of this challenge. Everyone's gaze was completely drawn to the two people in the field. Miao Jun did not move at all. His presence was steady and condensed like a great mountain. He stared closely at Zhua Mo, but he was not as calm inside as he appeared. When he heard the name, Celestial Azure Essence, from Xiao Mo Gu's mouth, he was unable to keep his composure. He had never expected to hear these words from the mouth of someone else, especially a youth. Celestial Azure Essence. Just based on these words, no matter what, he would fight. What he was even more curious about was where Xiao Mo Gu had heard about this, and how had he discovered it. He found that he was unable to get the measure of this youth. Zhua Mo did not think too much. Inside, there was only the desire to obtain victory. He did not care about that celestial azure essence. That was just bait that way throughout. He might admire Miao Jun, but he didn't really need the other in his service. There was only one thing that was essential in his mind: victory. Zhua Mo's presence continued to increase. The waves of sound quickly distanced themselves. The burning intent to fight was like fire in his eyes. This was the first time he circulated the three newly changed powers inside his body since the shifting star sands incident. Endless power came from inside his body. A pleasure he never felt before made him feel so comfortable he almost roared to the sky. Every piece of muscle, every sinew was so lively and so strong. He did not take off the bandage on his right hand. The sky glass wave was adequate to face Pang Cheng, but it was not enough for Miao Jun. Every piece of muscle in his body was tensed like the string of a bow. The Sun Mo matrix at the center of his chest suddenly lit up. The golden Missouri matrix was like a seed that awakened and quickly spread on the surface of Zhua Mo's body. 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. Miao Jun's expression changed slightly as he exclaimed, 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. The Jinji in the battlefield were effective against power but did not affect sound. This shout of 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus instantly spread through the entire battle stadium. The stands that had been silencing their breathing and watching in silence suddenly erupted. 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. Who that cultivated in Great Peace City would not know of 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus? AMO Physique ranked 3rd in general level. Zhua Mo did not know the significance and weight of a Mo Physique ranking 3rd in general level. But this was a great blow to those that were truly Mo. Why did Yi Ling think that Zhua Mo could become king when he discovered that Zhua Mo cultivated the great Mo Physique? That was because there was always a legend among the Mo. Only those with noble blood could cultivate noble Missouri physiques. No one had proven this saying, but among the Mo, especially low-level Mo, this was something that they all believed in. The great day Mo physique that was second among Colonel Mo physiques undoubtedly provide the nobility of Zhuo Mo's blood in Yiling's eyes. And 10 Crow celestial apparatus that ranked third in general level caused many people's eyes to light up. The experts naturally snorted at the rationale about the noble blood, but they were still full of anticipation. It had been very long since such a powerful Mo physique appeared. Everyone was filled with curiosity. What was the power of a Mo physique ranked third in general level? The 10 Crow celestial apparatus had a great reputation. Those that came before who cultivated it all were lords of one area. But that was just a legend. Right now, no one had heard of anyone cultivating 10 Crow celestial apparatus in the present Mo world. Sonic boom, shifting star sand, 10 Crow celestial apparatus, everyone suddenly found that this youth was more eye-catching and brighter than they expected. Zhuo Mo felt the three powers that had been renewed inside his body. They were like three pieces of magnets that simultaneously attracted and repelled each other and maintained a dynamic equilibrium. When his 10 Crow celestial apparatus was released without any restraint, his Ling power and consciousness seemed like the shadow that his Mo physique cast and continuously permeated his body. Such a strange feeling. A strange expression suddenly came onto Zhuo Mo's face. Chapter 588, The Azure Air Kill 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. Many people's eyes brightened. There were not many chances to see a legendary Mo physique from such a close distance. There were many Mo physiques, but the Mo physiques that ranked in the top 3 of each level were extremely rare and were usually not even seen once every 100 years. In the stands, some people hurriedly sent messages. They only discovered something so important today. When they returned, they would definitely be lectured. He has just achieved it, a black-robed man said in a low voice in the corner. Yes, however, 10 Crow celestial apparatus is very rare. It has been many years since it appeared. An ethereal voice came out of a shadow. The Mo in the surroundings did not seem to see there were two people beside them. Mo was loudly talking a few hand spans away from them, but he did not detect that there were two experts right next to him. Qi Jiaoyu has also come to watch. The black-robed man said with a light laugh, the others also have come. It has been very long since we all got together. If he sees you, then no one will be able to peacefully watch this. In the dark shadow, that ethereal voice was slightly teasing. The black-robed man suddenly seemed to detect something, a shocked expression on his face. What is it? The shadow asked. Look over there, that beautiful woman in black clothing. She isn't simple. The black-robed man indicated with a pursing of the lips. One beauty and one ugly. It is a very unique combination. The shadow also stilled slightly. As expected, she is not simple. There seems to be a problem with the other woman. The black-robed man seemed to savor it with his eyes. The surprise on his face grew. Such a strange power. The dark shadow suddenly said, I remember now. These two women were with Xiao Mo Gu. Xiao Mo Gu's origins are probably not simple as well. The black-robed man laughed. Let's watch, this matter isn't our headache. Yes. Bi Han appeared on the stands. Fu Feng stood behind him, but Fu Feng's expression was extremely angry. Your Highness, the eldest Highness has said that he does not have a solution. Fu Feng did not dare to look at Bi Han's expression. He knew the depth of what His Highness felt toward Sin Battalion. Fu Feng had not thought that eldest Highness would be so ruthless that he was even unaffected by His Highness' promise to set up his own household. He was very worried that His Highness would not be able to accept the news. He waited for a response to the news in silence, a deathly silence. A moment later, Bihan coldly spoke, let's think of other ways. His Highness' tones seemed normal and the same as usual, but Fu Feng knew just how cruel the matter was to His Highness. He felt extremely sorrowful. If Mistress was still alive, who would dare to be so disrespectful of His Highness? If the master was humiliated, the subject should die in loyalty. Thinking about the humiliation and pain that His Highness was receiving, Fu Feng's heart twisted. Bihan suddenly said, "Uncle Bo, do not worry. This bit of trouble isn't anything. Let's watch the fight." The tone was still as indifferent as usual, but Fu Feng could hear the concern in His Highness' tone. He was even more moved. He did not waste words and secretly decided that he would definitely fulfill His Highness' wish for him. As Fu Feng thought about this, he unconsciously looked towards the field. Suddenly, he stilled. For some reason, he felt as though he knew the youth on the field. But when he examined that face, he found it was a very unfamiliar face. But that feeling of familiarity could not be erased. So strange. Why would he feel familiarity towards Xiao Mo Gu? Fu Feng was very puzzled. Ling power and spiritual consciousness continuously permeated deeper into Zhuo Mo's body. A cool wave seemed to form inside his body. Yet the domineering flame of the 10-crow celestial apparatus Mo physique caused him to feel a layer of fire was flowing on his body. He did not have the time to slowly experience the changes in his body. He looked attentively at Miao Jun. Not one opening. Miao Jun's body was like a great and tall mountain that caused Zhuo Mo to feel as though he did not know where to attack. So strong. Zhuo Mo's heart trembled, but the fighting spirit inside did not decrease but increased instead. A faint layer of gold appeared on his eyes. There were exquisite and complex Mo matrices that floated in his eyes. The sun Mo matrix at the center of his chest was like a burning sun that even Zhuo Mo felt a burning pain. The sun crystal seed inside his body was unusually lively. Waves of heat flowed like lava from the sun crystal seed. They circulated once around his body and then entered the sun Mo matrix at his chest. The burning pain increased, but at the same time, a feeling of coolness in the deeper part of his body became even clearer. It was a conflicting feeling. The gold in his eyes became more dense and his presence suddenly increased again. Miao Jun, who had been calm all this time, shifted expression slightly. Xiao Mo Gu was like a ball of burning fire that had increased in ferocity and became even more dangerous. Miao Jun decided to attack. The words, "Celestial Azure Essence," flashed through his mind. The killing intent in his eyes increased. A strange azure color quickly spread over his entire body. Having been unmoving as a mountain, Miao Jun suddenly turned into a gust of wind and impossible to catch. Azure Air Mo Physique. His body suddenly disappeared into the air. Zhuo Mo's pupils shrank into pinpoints. He had disappeared, Miao Jun had completely disappeared. He lost all perception of Miao Jun. Miao Jun is really vicious. First move is, Azure Air Kill. A male that looked similar to Lan Tianlong said with a smile. His body was not as well built as Lan Tianlong. However, the two was so similar in looks that people could easily recognize his as Lan Tianlong's brother, Lan Liangrong. Lan Liangrong then sighed in praise. "I have to say that Miao Jun's, Azure Air Kill, is really unique. I don't know how he comprehended his move. The Air Azure Mo physique is not a very powerful physique. It probably is the worst Mo physique on the Great Peace Mo rankings." Lan Tianlong's eyes did not move away. There was a bit of shock on his face. It was unexpected that Miao Jun would use his ultimate attack right at the start of the fight. Azure Air Kill was the move that made Miao Jun famous. He could completely disappear, leaving the enemy bewildered as to how they had died. An unknown number of experts had fallen under this move. Miao Jun had stepped onto the Great Peace Mo ranking relying on this, Azure Air Kill. Up until now, no one had been able to defeat this move. So when everyone found that Miao Jun had used his ultimate move from the start, they were stunned. Lan Tianlong also nodded and praised Miao Jun's ultimate move. It's true. Even I cannot think of a way to defeat this move. One move for every use. Lan Liangrong shook his head and smiled. This is what is not good about watching Miao Jun's fights. If he uses this move, then there is no need to watch. Maybe there will be something unexpected today, Lan Tianlong suddenly said. He remembered the faint sense of danger that had appeared that day at the city gates. Lan Liangrong was slightly shocked. He turned his face and examined his brother for a while. It seems you have a high opinion of this Xiao Mo Gu. We will see soon. Lan Tianlong shook his head and said. Hearing this, Lan Liangrong could only curiously look toward Sui Mo in the field by himself. Tsing Lianer stared at Sui Mo on the field. She carefully maintained her distance with Sui Mo. Even though there was the Jinji barrier, the power resonance between them still existed. She still did not understand how Sui Mo was able to cause the shifting star sand that day. In terms of likelihood, her chances of causing the shifting star sand were much higher than Sui Mo's. Sui Mo cultivated Sun Shen power. His Mo physique was the 10 Crow celestial apparatus. It was a hard and yang power. It almost was impossible for him to cause shifting star sand. But the reality was completely the opposite of what she predicted. She had originally thought that she knew everything about Sui Mo but found that Sui Mo was a ball of mystery shrouded in mist. A Gue silently stood next to Tsing Lianer. Her expression was still wooden and she was unaffected by anything in the surroundings. Her empty eyes would only stare at Sui Mo. Tsing Lianer glanced at a Gue and suddenly recalled the heart-shaking memory fragments in Sui Mo's mind. Her gaze became even deeper. Hey, miss, is your name? A young master came over. Tsing Lianer had a flawless face, and a seductive glance. She was like an orchid in a mountain valley that stood alone. For these young masters, she was a fatal attraction. A group of young masters crowded over. Tsing Lianer seemed to not hear them. Her gaze fixed on Sui Mo in the field. There is nothing to see there. Miao Jun is using his Azure Air Kill. Xiao Mo Gu is definitely dead. So boring. After so many years, Miao Jun still only has this move. I had thought there would be something new. He has come for nothing, the young master muttered. Then his expression became alert. But I really need to thank him since I now have the chance to encounter you, miss. Tsing Lianer ignored him. She stared at the field and she could feel Sui Mo's predicament. The enormous battlefield appeared empty. He was the only person standing there. Miao Jun had completely disappeared into thin air from in front of him. He used all his skill but still could not find the other. However, a strong sense of danger caused his scalp to prickle. There seemed to be an invisible chain that was wrapped around his neck. If the other wanted to, he could tighten the noose at any moment. The other was definitely still in the battlefield. Sui Mo's right hand suddenly flipped. A string of little Yao arts shot out of his hand and flashed past the entire battlefield. But they did not hit anything at all. The stands became even heated and the discussion became hotter. Sui Mo's little Yao arts were just little Yao arts but they still astounded many people. The systems of Yao and Mo cultivation were completely different. Mo that understood Yao arts were very rare. Xiao Mo Gu actually knew Yao arts. Sui Mo's little Yao arts stunned many people on the stands. The waves of noise that heightened on the stands did not affect Sui Mo at all. His nerves were tense and he was secretly on his guard as he searched every inch of space in the battlefield. The feeling of danger increased like the noose around his neck had already tightened. Cold sweat dripped down the tip of Sui Mo's nose. Chapter 589, A Domineering Fire of the First Heavenly Stems. Sui Mo's eyes were wide as he furiously searched the battlefield. But no matter which method he used, he could not find Miao Jun's figure. However, the strong feeling of danger rose. Cold sweat soaked Zhuo Mo's back. He had not expected that Miao Jun's attack would be so strange and unusual. Only now did he realize the strength of the Great Peace Mo ranking. Miao Jun, who was ranked last, was already so strong, then the other 19 would be even stronger than Miao Jun. He had underestimated the people in the world. His recent successive breakthroughs had caused him to overestimate himself. A thread of regret flashed through Zhuo Mo's eyes. However, those distant memories suddenly flashed across his eyes like a tide. Those scenes filled with sunlight and warmth. Xiao Guo's timid and innocent face that was smiling, Li Yingfeng Shiji's valiant figure, they all appeared in his mind. For some unknown reason, the terror that had taken over his body suddenly subsided greatly. Courage returned to his body. His eyes became determined again. Fighting spirit filled his sweat-covered face. Like sunlight breaking through the layers of dark clouds, the smile that rose on his face was just as bright. On the stand, the black-robed man was slightly shocked. He had seen the change in Xiao Mo's expression and presence. Had he found a solution to use against Miao Jun? Can you guess what method he will use? The dark shadow asked. I do not know. The black-robed male shook his head. I've never fought against Miao Jun. I also do not know how to defeat his Azure Air Kill. Then what would you do? The dark shadow asked. Restrict his opportunities for attack by remaining motionless, the black-robed male said without hesitation. The two did not speak more. Their attention turned back to the battlefield because Xiao Mo had moved. Zhuo Mo slowly retreated back step by step until he reached the edge of the battlefield. If he retreated one more step back, he would leave the battlefield and lose. He stopped walking and faced towards the empty battlefield. His body crouched like a wild beast about to pounce. His right fist that was covered in bandages was set by his side and his entire body was leaning forward. This extremely offensive posture had caused all the people on the stand stop breathing. Was Xiao Mo going to attack? Zhuo Mo's eyes were like balls of burning flame. He stared at the empty battlefield, full of determined fighting spirit and motivation. It burned his skin. His mind was unusually calm. No matter what Miao Jun had done, he was definitely inside the battlefield. Since the other could not be found, he would attack until the other was hit. The flames burning in Zhuo Mo's eyes pushed. The furious fighting intent was like a flash of a blade in the air. The cold light appeared and a cold shout shocked the entire stadium. Kill! The Sun Mo matrix at the center of his chest suddenly sprouted a burning flood of energy. At the same time, the right fist at his side twisted and punched out at full power like an arrow shooting out of a bow. At the exact same time, the flood of power that came from the Sun Mo matrix in his chest flashed like lightning into his fist. Boom! It might have been that his fist created enough friction against the air or that flames had shot out of his fist, but the bandages that wrapped around his fist had started to burn. The golden flames fluttered wildly in the high-speed air flow and quickly spread. His arms seemed to be layered in dancing gold flames, the long tongues of flame were flickering wildly. A deep and trembling roar that seemed to come from deep within the ground. The rapidly spinning right fist carried the wilding dancing gold flames as it punched out at the empty battlefield. The first transformation of the 10-crow celestial apparatus, Fire Fist of the first heavenly stem. In the stands, everyone's pupils suddenly expanded. They were unable to look directly at the fist, one that seemed to be a meteor crashing down from the sky with a long tail. Boom! A ball of gold light crashed into the center of the battlefield and suddenly exploded. The blinding golden light filled the entire battlefield. Everyone on the stands felt the earth tremble beneath their feet and were unable to remain standing. The stands were full of shouts, but these shouts quickly disappeared. They looked in disbelief at the field. The dust settled on the battlefield that was now a complete mess. Shattered stone rained down, and at the very center of the battlefield, an Asari figure appeared. Miao Jun. The stones continued to rain down. When the last stone landed, the people found to their shock that the flat battlefield had completely disappeared. What replaced it as a scattered layer of stone with blocks 1 zhang thick. Miao Jun looked at Sui Mo, who was still in his posture of punching, disbelief on his face. His complexion was ashen. His Azure Air Kill had been defeated by this youth like this. How was it possible? How was it possible? Such a domineering punch. Shock flashed through Lan Rong's eyes as he murmured to himself. Lan Tianlong did not speak. He looked at the battlefield with shock on his face. He actually used such a dumb method to defeat Miao Jun's Azure Air Kill. Lan Rong shook his head as though it was in praise but also in disbelief. It really is, really is. He stopped. He did not know how to describe it. Could you stop this punch? Lan Tianlong turned his face and suddenly asked. Lan Rong's expression changed slightly. He closed his eyes and a faint flush came onto his face. A moment later, he opened his eyes and shook his head. I cannot. Is the 10-crow celestial apparatus this strong? Lan Tianlong stared at Xiao Mo go on the field and murmured to himself. How can the 10-crow celestial apparatus be this powerful? The black-robed male stared at Xiao Mo go on the battlefield as if he was seeing a ghost. The 10-crow celestial apparatus is not this powerful. The dark shadow picked up the topic, his tone unusually certain. He used some other technique. His body is very strong and this should be a benefit of the shifting star sands. Adding on that the way he manipulates power is very unique, this punch has been created. But this is outrageously domineering. The black-robed male found it hard to accept. I cannot guarantee that I would be able to stop this punch. But you are able to prevent him from having a chance to punch, the dark shadow said. Of course. The black-robed male did not pretend to be humble. However, he was slightly surprised. But how old is he? Is there anyone so young who can be this talented? The heavens are jealous of geniuses. This may not be good for him, the dark shadow said indifferently. The black-robed male stilled. You want to act against him? No way. No, but someone wants to. The dark shadow looked into the distance. The black-robed man followed the dark shadow's gaze and his eyes focused. The stands were completely silent. Everyone was stunned by such a powerful punch. The seemingly normal flooring on the battle stadium was made from the best granite and was extremely hard. In order to make it even stronger, there were many jinji placed on it. Even though the surface had become pitted due to the years of challenge, but in general, it was still intact and very flat. Xiao Mo Guess punch had smashed the entire battle stadium's flooring. Just how powerful this fist was. Even if it was a mountain, he would be able to shatter it. People stared in shock at the youth in the field that did not seem very strong. All faces were pale and weak in front of such a scene. The enormous challenge stadium was deathly silent. When they saw Miao Jun use the Azure Air Kill, they had thought that there would not be any meaning in watching this battle. Who would have thought the situation would reverse? People's eyes could not keep up with the quickness the situation changed. In a flash, the one at a disadvantage was Miao Jun. Miao Jun's expression was very complex. He stared at Sui Mo with a changing expression. It was not that he had never thought that the Azure Air Kill would one day be defeated, but he had never thought that it would be such a young person that would defeat it. And in such a crude and savage method. But when it really did happen, Miao Jun had to compliment the other's unique thinking. In front of such peerlessly domineering power, any concealment technique was like a trap made of paper. It was useless no matter how exquisite it was. Even if his Azure Air Kill had reached the border of boundary. There was a helpless smile on Miao Jun's face. Even if it was the completed Azure Air boundary, it might not be something that could escape unharmed in front of such terrifying and domineering power, much less an azure air kill that was just touching the boundary. Too strong. It was so strong it almost surpassed the limits of general level. Miao Jun could see that this punch had been a great burden to Xiao Mo Gu. This could be seen from Xiao Mo Gu's panting and slightly trembling body. But when his eyes met Suo Mo's eyes, he stilled. The gold energy in that pair of eyes had become much dimmer, but what surprised Miao Jun was the burning fighting spirit was even higher than before, burning even more passionately. Under the bellow-like panting, the burning fighting spirit was so eye-catching and was unable to be dismissed. Even if he was extremely tired, that dangerous presence did not decrease in strength at all. No one detected that he had already lost the ability to fight back. Everyone felt that the battle was just starting. Miao Jun stood up and silently looked at Suo Mo. "I admit defeat." Miao Jun's sudden words caused the entire battle stadium to sink into silence. But not a moment after the silence, waves of roaring sound seemed to break apart the battle stadium. How was it possible? How was it possible? Suo Mo was stunned where he stood and looked dazedly at Miao Jun. Miao Jun looked interestedly at Suo Mo's expression as though he was not the person who forfeited. He was clearly very smug about the words he said. "Do not think that you can fool me." Suo Mo's hateful words caused the smugness on Miao Jun's face to freeze. "You don't believe me?" Miao Jun looked strangely at Suo Mo. "Now I believe you." Suo Mo threw down this phrase and then straightened his posture. He instantly shouted in pain. "It hurts." He had not used the traditional fire fist of the first heavenly stem with that punch but used it with all of his power, including a thread of Shen power to create such a terrifying effect. But this punch was also a great burden on his body that had surpassed his imagination. Right now, there wasn't one part of him that wasn't in pain. However, he won. Even though he was very surprised that Miao Jun admitted defeat, it was good that he reached the result he wanted. He did not care what Miao Jun thought. At this time, something suddenly changed. Chapter 590, Waiting. A streak of green light flew out of the stands and straight down at Suo Mo. At this time, the Jinji in the battle stadium had been deactivated. Nothing was blocking this green energy. Just as the green energy appeared to strike Suo Mo, a black figure suddenly appeared in front of him. The black billowing sleeve was like the hissing tongue of a snake that suddenly flickered and stopped the green energy. Tseng Lianer. Faint murderousness rose on that seductive face. The deep black opal eyes flashed with a strange light. Bam! The green energy exploded. The sleeve billowed and then suddenly grew, stopping all the green energy fragments of the explosion. The sleeve dropped and Tseng Lianer's eyes flashed across the stands. The deep gaze caused people to feel cold from the bottom of their hearts. This had occurred without any warning. Tseng Lianer's movements had been as fast as lightning. Many people had not understood what happened. However, everyone was stunned by such an enchanting woman. Those that noticed her sleeve had stopped the green energy shifted expression. This woman was very strong. Tseng Lianer moved her eyes but did not locate the attacker. Without a word, she grabbed Suo Mo and Ague. In a few leaps, they had disappeared. No one dared to follow. Black Stone Jie. Gongye Xiao Rong's expression was black. Beside him, Duo Li's expression was ashamed as though he wanted to find a crack in the earth and bury himself. Duo Li had been defeated. The battle generals around them did not dare to even breathe heavily. Gongye Xiao Rong took a deep breath. He did not vent his anger. He knew that the defeat could not be blamed on Duo Li. He had seen the entire battle and while the other had been strong, their strength was evenly matched to his side. The reason that Duo Li had been defeated was mostly due to the other's battle tactics. Strange battle tactics. When Gongye Xiao Rong thought about it, he couldn't help but feel slight incredulity. That was a kind of battle tactic he had never seen before. It could use the strength of the MO in the battalion to their greatest effect. A Shilja battalion that used tactics based around MO, he had never heard of such a thing. But these strange tactics was extremely powerful. Duo Li's performance was good, but he was quickly picked apart by the other's domineering charge. Even if it was himself, he did not have the confidence he could beat the other if he was encountering this battle tactic for the first time. Reflect well. You guys really have face to be defeated by an unorthodox battalion, Gongye Xiaorong said coolly. His subordinates all flushed bright red. Gongye Xiaorong glanced at them. Go down, pay more attention to what is happening on the other side. The battle generals under his command hurriedly left as though they were being pardoned. When there was no one left in the room, Gongye Xiaorong's expression suddenly darkened. This time, he really tripped up. He had not suspected anything when Gongsun Cha said they had just taken Orchid Homejie. Thinking about it now that he had time to think, the situation was definitely not as Gongsun Cha had claimed. The other's tactics had clearly been trained for a period of time. In other words, those MO had been a part of the battalion for some period of time. How could MO enter a Shilja battalion? What was strangest was that the tactics of this battalion were designed around a group of MO. Gongye Xiaorong was muddled. Was this a Shilja faction or MO faction? Gongye Xiaorong did not care about who ruled Orchid Homejie. That place was extremely easy to attack and unable to be properly defended. For the present Tian Huan, it had no value. However, when had he, Gongye Xiaorong, ever lost so? Thinking about this, he suddenly smiled. So interesting. Taking down Orchid Homejie was a great encouragement to Gongsun Cha. What made him even happier was that the Orchid Hill Jie was at the intersection of 100 Savage Realm and Dark Realm. Going from here to Dark Realm was very convenient. According to the Jie maps he had obtained, Zhuemo would go to the Dark Realm by passing through the Orchid Hill Jie. In other words, right now, Gongsun Cha and the others only had to hold Orchid Homejie and could wait here for Zhuemo. However, Orchid Hill Jie was unable to be properly fortified. Gongsun Cha was extremely decisive. With a wave of his hand, he decided to give up on the other regions and only set up defenses around the Chaos Rift. He concentrated all of his strength around the Chaos Rift. Anyone that wanted to take over it would have to pay a great price. Also, Golden Crow Camp was hurrying to come. When they got here, this place would be built into a highly defended fort. The people of the Rahula clan were all sent towards Middle Granary Chia while a Jia Guest battalion was settled around the outer perimeter of Vermilion Bird Camp acting as a barrier and meat shield. Lil Miss did not have any sympathy for them. A Jia Gu knew this was a hard task but he was smart. Since he had submitted to the other, if he did not integrate into this group now and earn their trust, then his clansmen would not have good days in the future. So he did not hesitate to carry out any of Lil Miss' orders. Scouts from Tian Huan frequently appeared near the Jie River but Lil Miss ignored them. He allowed them to investigate freely. He thought clearly. What was most valuable in Orchid Homejie was this Chaos Rift. He would not feel pain if the other places were invaded and taken over. A short while later, the number of scouts decreased and almost disappeared. Gongsun Cha realized that Gongye Xiaorong was planning a new approach. Mu Shi patrolled the camp repeatedly. Her calm expression affected the combat Yao below her. Their morale had not changed greatly after the defeat of their allies. Of the Alliance army, Mu Shi battalion was the only battalion that survived. Originally, she was to command the entirety of the Allied army, but she had actually received great resistance from Bai Shan and the other generals. She was Yao, so she was naturally not welcomed as the leader of this Allied army, one that was primarily comprised of MO. The Allied army quickly elected to have Bai Shan as the lead commander, and in the following battles, Mu Shi perceptively detected Tian Huan's strategy. It was a pity that Mu Shi was unable to persuade Bai Shan and the others to change their strategy. Seeing that it could not be stopped, Mu Shi instead found an excuse to delay her battalion's participation for a few days, and so they did not land in Tian Huan's ambush. They managed to successfully survive. Mu Zai's astounding perceptiveness earned her the trust of her subordinates, and everyone followed her faithfully. Mu Shi recognized from the troop movements of the Tian Huan battalion that the other did not know about the existence of her battalion. So she led the battalion to hide in the Jie River of Cross Pond Jie near Black Stone Jie. She judged that Gomye Xiao Rong's first choice of attack would be clear Daybreak Jie and not Cross Pond Jie. She was like a patient hunter, and she was just waiting for a chance to take back Black Stone Jie in order to return home. Suddenly, a scout reported back with an excited expression. "Darren, Tian Huan has moved." As you expected, they went to clear Daybreak Jie. Mu Zai's eyes suddenly lit up. She said in a deep voice, "Gather. Such a good chance." The attack had occurred in public, and Xing Lianer coming out added on a spectacular brushstroke to Xiao Mo Gu and Miao Jun's fight. The Xiao Miao fight that had been a hot topic became even more popular. This challenge was full of wonder. The peerlessly domineering punch that Xiao Mo Gu used shocked everyone. And Miao Jun's forfeit was something that every person did not understand. The strange green light and the weird Xing Lianer caused even more questions to arise. Why had they tried to assassinate Xiao Mo Gu? What was the origins of the beautiful woman next to Xiao Mo Gu? How was her true strength? Those that cared also noticed that there was an extremely ugly woman next to Xiao Mo Gu as well, but Xiao Mo Gu treated this woman much better than the beauty. These all became topics of discussion. Zhuo Mo was not surprised that Xing Lianer had lent a hand. Just based on their paired cultivation, Xing Lianer had to save him. However, he was very angry that Xing Lianer had taken a Gue to the battle stadium and placed her in danger. However, Xing Lianer ignored him and just drank tea in an easy and relaxed state. Xu Long charged in. "Darren, Miao Jun has come." Hearing this, Zhuo Mo was slightly shocked. This guy really came. Truthfully, Zhuo Mo was very shocked that Miao Jun had forfeited the match. Even he himself did not feel that the other really forfeited. He was almost out of strength at that time, and while Miao Jun's Azure Air kill had been defeated, but he still had power to fight. The situation was advantageous towards Miao Jun, but Miao Jun had forfeited in that situation. When Miao Jun walked in, he bowed properly to Zhuo Mo, "Darren." Zhuo Mo instantly felt uncomfortable. However, if he didn't take advantage, he wasn't little Mo Gu. He tested, "You have really decided to work for me?" "Yes." "Darren." Miao Jun's expression was calm and there was no deception that he could detect. Zhuo Mo thought and then said, "I'm telling you now that I do not have celestial azure essence." This subordinate has guessed this. Miao Jun's expression was still calm. It is not important if Darren has celestial azure essence or not. This subordinate has admitted defeat, and will follow through with our bet. His expression was honest as though he was just stating a simple fact. But Zhuo Mo still felt it was slightly strange. But the other's expression did not seem insincere. He could not think of a reason the other submitted no matter how he tried, so Zhuo Mo decided not to think. "You can find a room and settle in." "Yes, Darren." Miao Jun nodded. What did this person mean? Zhuo Mo rubbed his chin. Looking at Miao Jun's figure, he felt puzzled. Was there someone this strong that was really willing to be someone's subordinate? Zhuo Mo did not believe it. But if the other had some unforeseen goal, Zhuo Mo felt there was nothing about him that was worthy of being targeted. In any case, those that were barefoot were not afraid of those wearing shoes. Zhuo Mo comforted himself. Xu Long quickly reported back with news. One of the news items was that Zhuo Mo had replaced Miao Jun and entered the Great Peace Mo rankings and was in the 20th position. Zhuo Mo probably was the youngest genius that had entered the Great Peace Mo rankings. The other bit of news was that the princesses of 3 great families were coming together and would reach Great Peace City a fortnight later. Princess Xia was among them. This news caused Great Peace City to explode. Chapter 591, Bold Acquaintances, Spectacular. As expected of Great Peace City. The one who spoke had an eye-catching head of orange hair that was flickering like a fire. He looked around as he walked, his face in an astounded expression as he kept on chattering. His fellow was shrouded in a ball of black smoke that flickered uncertainly. Old Black, your wish is being fulfilled. However, I really cannot understand why you admire Shi Ziming. The orange-haired Yao twisted his mouth, but then he puffed out his chest and hit it 3 times. He said righteously, however, brothers have to be loyal, you said to come, and I have come here with you. The black smoke Yao seemed to not hear the orange-haired Yao's words. He looked at the vast and soaring Great Peace City with devoutness on his face. Old Black, this is not good of you. Yao have to have resolve. Idolizing Mo, this does not make you seem like you have good taste. The orange-haired Yao urged him. The orange-haired Yao's words caused the people that passed by to glare at him, but he did not seem to detect it. The black smoke Yao refocused and knew that this wasn't good. He hurriedly changed the topic. Go, let's go inside and see. The orange-haired Yao's attention was once again attracted by the novel sights on the street, and he occasionally shouted and yelled. The black smoke Yao also could not control his excitement. Shi Ziming was legendary among the Mo, and even more there were few people that knew he had once traveled the Yao world, and even made a dangerous trip to the Xiuzhe world. By coincidence, he had obtained a record left behind by one of Shi Ziming's followers. He and the orange-haired Yao both cultivated according to these records, but the Yao arts that they comprehended were completely different. The orange-haired Yao was not a persistent person, and after cultivating it, he threw it to the side. He didn't even know who Shi Ziming was. However, the black smoke Yao was extremely attentive to the records and followed the clues. He ultimately found the legendary Shi Ziming. He then started to ask around about Shi Ziming's history. Fortunately, there was a lot of intermixing between Yao and Mo, and the era of Shi Ziming was historically recent. So the black smoke Yao learned of Great Peace City and of the Mo skill steals. His biggest wish was to enter Great Peace City to pay his respects to Elder Shi Ziming, to study his Mo skill steals. Inside those records, the person had mentioned that Grandmaster Shi Ziming had once sworn an oath to pass on all the methods he had comprehended to everyone. When he learned about Great Peace City and the Mo skill steals, the black smoke Yao started to pay attention. Recently, the state of affairs was chaotic and the Yao art houses had stopped their classes. What was even more unexpected was that a chaos rift had appeared near them and was connected to the Mo world. The alliance between Yao and Mo caused this chaos rift to become a crucial transportation route that was now frequently traveled. The black smoke Yao therefore pulled the orange-haired along with him on the long journey to Great Peace City. 3 princesses are coming. Holy, this is frightening. This is going to be fun. I just wonder how many powerful people are going to come over. Yes, it has been so long since Great Peace City has been so busy. Look at those businesses. Their smiles are almost scary and they are furiously buying inventory. Devastating beauties, the gathering of heroes, it will be a great regret of a lifetime to miss an opportunity like this. There is also a Xiao Mo Go that likes to cause trouble. This cannot be a peaceful event. Yes, yes. Xiao Mo Go has never rested since he arrived, with him present, it will never be boring. The orange-haired Yao that had been looking around suddenly stopped and crowded next to the passerby that were talking. He abruptly asked, Xiao Mo Go is in Great Peace City. The passers-by glanced at him. Yes, he has been in Great Peace City for a long time. That's great. Xiao Mo Go also came. Fun. The orange-haired Yao's eyes lit up, and the bright hair on his head became even more dazzling as though it would burst into fire. The passerby immediately became interested. You know Xiao Mo Gu. We are brothers. The orange-haired Yao slapped his chest and said in a proud and loud voice. The black smoke Yao muttered under his breath. It would be strange if the other even remembered you. But the orange-haired Yao's hearing was very good. He waved his hand carelessly. That would not happen, he is a good brother, and loyal. The black smoke Yao rolled his eyes and muttered, idiot. The orange-haired Yao quickly got Xiao Mo Gu's address. As Xiao Mo Gu increased in popularity, all kinds of discussions arose around him. All of the information of him became common knowledge, including the location of the large compound he was staying at. The black smoke Yao did not want to be embarrassed and have the door shit in their faces, but he could not convince the orange-haired Yao, so he could only follow behind the orange-haired Yao. The orange-haired Yao quickly arrived at the gates of the large compound. The guards at the gates glanced at the two people. One guard came forward. Is there some matter you have come with? We have come to find Xiao Mo Gu. The orange-haired Yao said loudly. Go tell him that his brothers have come. Brothers of Darren. Hearing this, the guard was slightly shocked. He glanced at the two and then said, please wait for a moment. Finishing, he furiously sprinted inside. My brothers? Sua Mo was confused. When he heard the guard describe the arrival's appearance, he instantly understood and a smile came onto his face. He had good feelings about that orange-haired that spoke of loyalty, liked to fight, liked being the center of attention, and had a great opinion of himself. In front of the door. The peerlessly loyal orange-haired Yao. Sua Mo's lips unconsciously grinned. The orange-haired Yao liked hearing people compliment his loyalty the most, and hearing this, his face bloomed. His orange hair was like a bright ball of flame, but he tried to make a serious expression. Yao need to be loyal. You are also very good, you have loyalty. The black smoke Yao curiously observed Xiao Mo Gu from the side. Xiao Mo Gu in the real world was completely different than in 10-Finger Prison. He had even more presence, and even more edges. Also, he was well guarded. He finally understood why other people could not find Xiao Mo Gu's identity. Even after he defeated Corps Commander Yu Heng, the origins of Xiao Mo Gu were still a mystery. So Xiao Mo Gu had been in the Mo world. Sua Mo exchanged greetings with the black smoke Yao. He remembered this best friend of the orange-haired Yao. The two followed Sua Mo into the compound. The black smoke Yao's heart beat rapidly as he saw the well-guarded passageways. The careless orange-haired Yao did not detect these things at all. He excitedly boasted about the glorious fights he had been in since last seeing Sua Mo Nanyu, Zhang Zhe, and the others quickly came. When the familiar people met, the atmosphere became even rowdier. The black smoke Yao did not speak many words. He was observing from the side. If the news that Xiao Mo Gu was in the Mo world passed back into the Yao world, it would probably cause a great ruckus. The other was younger than he had imagined and had become a gold battle general that could shake the world. The snowflake formation that he had used to defeat Corps Commander Yu Heng in the last battle had caused people to study the ancient battle tactics again and caused a great reaction. Someone with a deep background had once said the higher-ups intended to give Xiao Mo Gu the position of a corps commander. However, they could not find Xiao Mo Gu, so the matter was never resolved. If Xiao Mo Gu truly became a corps commander, he would probably be the youngest corps commander ever. The black smoke Yao shook his head inside. He had to work harder. He suddenly felt some admiration for the muddle-headed orange-haired Yao that easily integrated with the group. This person was undefeatable. Liang Wei wiped his face. His face was almost numb. He turned around and saw that his subordinates all had tired expressions. A month of concealed travel was an extreme test to any battalion. However, they were not far from their goal. The blood mist has become thin. Liang Wei reached out and pointed, his hoarse voice filled with indescribable excitement. The combat Yao with tired expressions instantly had bright eyes. Everyone knew what this meant. The blood mist becoming thin meant that they were very close to the Xiuzha world. Ever since the sky-splitting calamity, all kinds of chaos rifts had caused the bloody sky metropolis Jia to become meaningless. But this terrible endless environment had always been a natural barrier. No matter if it was Xiuzha or Yama, they had withdrawn the armies they had once been stationed in blood sky metropolis Jia. The inner areas of the realms became the site of their battles. The battlefield that had once seen great fighting was empty and desolate, the smoke and fire having faded. Those defense lines that had been built with such effort and care were empty of people. This place had lost all meaning. Liang Wei licked his dry lips, his eyes as sharp as a wolf. They had not encountered even one person along the way, but they still traveled under concealment to prevent being found by the others' alarm seals and formations. The strategic meaning of the Chaos Rifts naturally surpassed Blood Sky Metropolis Jia, but the fighting over the Chaos Rifts were intense. Both sides diverted a great number of troops to these locations. When everyone's gazes were focused on the Chaos Rifts, Liang Wei targeted the empty Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. If they could cross Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia and enter the Xiuzha world, it would be like a dragon entering the sea. They could upend the other. Also, if they could capture a Chaos Rift that lead to the Yao world, then this lonely army of theirs would truly come to life. Many people opposed this risky plan, but Liang Wei still decided to carry it out. They were very close to their goal. Liang Wei sent an order to rest. He smelt the scent of Xiuzha. This caused his blood to boil. After the battalion recovered their fighting capability and started to travel again, they traveled for multiple days until the blood mist was so thin it disappeared. A Xiuzha town appeared on the horizon. Liang Wei's eyes narrowed. He raised his right hand, killing intent filling his face. Kill! Wei Xing slowly advanced. Corpses littered the ground behind him. He could not remember how many bandit groups he had encountered, but if he encountered any, he did not let them go. The black sword in his hand seemed to have drank its fill of fresh blood and now had a dark red hue. Wei Xing's gaze was resolute and clear. His body was as upright as a sword, and his tired expression could not reduce his heightened mental state. He shook his head. The strength of these bandits could not help him to improve. He needed stronger opponents. He hoped that stronger enemies would appear in the future. The black sword in his hand seemed to understand what he thought and gave a clear hum. The sound rang into the surroundings. Wei Xing tenderly caressed the black sword in his hand. The power of the black sword was continuously increasing. It was becoming stronger. The killing essence inside the black sword was like a vicious beast that was slowly being woken up from a deep slumber. A peerlessly vicious sword was showing its first edge. Comparing his Jia map to the one that he had taken from the corpse of a bandit, Wei Xing raised his head. He checked his direction and walked forward. A sword and a figure forward walked together. Chapter 592, Giving a helping hand in the darkness, Tsing Lianer stood in front of a Mo skill steel like a ghost. The stars above her head were as vast as a sea. She could feel traces of star power lingering around this Mo skill steel. This as the Mo skill steel where Mo had caused the shifting star sands. Her gaze swept across the Mo skill steel. She had repeatedly read the content on there but still could not find any clues as to why Mo could cause the shifting star sand. Suddenly, Tsing Lianer turned around. A male dressed in snowy white robes silently appeared behind her. It was Qi Jiaoyu. There was a hint of killing intent that suddenly appeared in Qi Jiaoyu's eyes. The water droplet that circled around him suddenly shifted and gave off a strange sound. Tsing Lianer felt the scenery in her vision change and suddenly became blurry. Her black opal eyes suddenly lit up. A serene light came like a deep night. The black sleeve spread with a strange and invisible ripple. The water droplet that orbited Qi Jiaoyu suddenly stopped making the sound. As expected Shen power, Qi Jiaoyu coolly spoke, a light that was hard to describe flashing through his eyes. Tsing Lianer's expression quickly became enchanting, and her beautiful face even more seductive as she breathed softly. Qi Jiaoyu, so your aim is Shen power? Yes. Qi Jiaoyu's eyes flashed. His snowy white robes moved despite the lack of wind. A thread of yearning appeared on his indifferent face. When I came here the past, I understood what Shi Ziming wanted to speak of was Shen power. However, he did not state the most important part. Qi Jiaoyu said coolly, I have searched around and have not found any clues. I had not expected to encounter people that cultivated Shen power, and three at once. Tsing Lianer's eyes became even more bewitching, her cherry-red lips slightly curved and her voice warm permeated one's mind. You are really someone that pays attention. Zing. The sound was like a sword humming. A crescent ripple suddenly shot out and accurately hit the water sleeve that had appeared at some unknown time. The soft water sleeve shook lightly and rippled like water. The crescent-shaped ripple was dispersed. If the news spread, how many people would be interested? Haven't these families stood guard here waiting for someone to understand Shen power? Qi Jiaoyu's voice was indifferent as though he was narrating something that was unrelated to him. Yes. Tsing Lianer's tone was soft and with a thread of laziness. It was like a cat kneading on the heart of a person. But that has nothing to do with you, Qi Jiaoyu. You will not have any connection with this banquet. Qi Jiaoyu's eyes suddenly became cold and his killing intent rose. But since you have come, I will accept. Tsing Lianer smiled seductively. Then that will depend on if you are strong enough. I like strong men. The sound rippled and before it dissipated into the air, Tsing Lianer's body flashed with a layer of moonlight. Then she quickly became faint at a visible rate in front of Qi Jiaoyu. Tsing Lianer that almost became transparent blinked her eyes at Qi Jiaoyu. Incoming. The voice that was filled with seductiveness spread and echoed in the empty air. In front of Qi Jiaoyu, Tsing Lianer slowly disappeared. Qi Jiaoyu's eyes flashed with thoughtfulness. Zhuo Mo did not know that something was happening with Tsing Lianer in this night, but even if he did, he would not care. The other was not his subordinate, and it had nothing to do with him. After learning that Princess Xia was going to arrive in Great Peace City soon, Zhuo Mo's restless heart instantly settled. Every day, if he was not keeping a Gui company, he was immersed in cultivation. The orange-haired Yao, the black smoke Yao, and a one were spending their days at the Mo skill steels. It was strange to speak of. The orange-haired Yao, who was such a careless person, was extremely talented at cultivation. He was also extremely interested in the Mo skill steels that were mostly focused on Mo skills. This caused the black smoke Yao to rest some of his worries. If this guy felt that it was boring, then he would not rest. Then no one would be able to accomplish anything. It had to be said that the content in the Mo skill steels were profound and vast. Shi Ziming was a legendary genius and had profound insights on even the most ordinary topics. Every time he studied it, Zhuo Mo would obtain something. Zhuo Mo's body that had been tempered by the shifting star sand was unusually powerful. In his hands, many of the detailed methods mentioned on the Mo skill steels were executed with shocking power. Zhuo Mo had comprehended a lot of the fire fist of the first heavenly stem. The sun crystal seed had become unusually active after that and continuously released burning sun essence into Zhuo Mo's 10-crow celestial apparatus Mo matrix. The sun crystal seed had a great preference for Zhuo Mo's Shen power. Whenever Zhuo Mo drew Shen power out of his right hand, a part of the Shen power would be swallowed by the sun crystal seed. With every thread of Shen power it consumed, the sun crystal seed would spin quicker. Just like normal, a portion of the Shen power was consumed by the sun crystal seed. Suddenly, Zhuo Mo felt some shifting. The surface of the sun crystal seed suddenly erupted in flame. Threads of fire turned into a burning that flowed along the gold threads of the 10-crow celestial apparatus and suddenly entered a sun Mo matrix on Zhuo Mo's back. Boom! Zhuo Mo's body shook and his mind was completely blank. This flood was like 10,000 rushing horses galloping at once. They followed along the gold threads of the sun Mo matrix and rampaged. A sun had become bright. The flood that had not lost any of its momentum followed the golden tracks coming out of this sun and continued to advance. Another sun became bright. In a blink, the third and last sun on his back was lit up by the flood. A moment later, Zhuo Mo finally recovered from his daze. He felt that something else had appeared on his back but he could not say what it was. He made a close examination. The sun crystal seed at the center of his chest's Mo matrix was slightly smaller than before but its color was darker. As it spun, it occasionally spat out tongues of flame that looked very powerful. A breakthrough. It appeared so, but Zhuo Mo tried to move. The 10-crow celestial apparatus Mo physique did not appear to change. The second transformation did not activate. However, Zhuo Mo was not impatient. He knew, for the general level, what was important was not advancing the Mo physique but comprehending domain. Domain was the most powerful power that a general level could grasp. He thought of that thieving Baldi's, Dingzhen, lantern fire Buddhist world. That power had been astonishing. Zhuo Mo was extremely tempted by the 10-crow celestial apparatus domain, that was unique to 10-crow celestial apparatus. Advancing the Mo physique was a matter of time. His right hand would endlessly provide Shen power. If he was given enough time, he would reach it. However, he did not have any ideas about domain. But he knew this was something he could not force. Just like comprehending sword essence, this required luck and epiphanies. Zhuo Mo could not influence luck but he could always work on his foundation. He hoped that his foundation would become deeper and sturdier so that was why he had studied the great piece Mo skill steals so hard. But his cultivation was still disrupted. Because Xu Long had come back and he had picked up a person. Xu Long saw Zhuo Mo and hurriedly bowed. Darren. Amo was by his feet. His face was completely black and he was only breathing faintly. Seeing this, Zhuo Mo hurriedly crouched down to look. Darren, I found him when I went looking for a one and the others near the Mo skill steals. I noticed that he wasn't quite right so I brought him back, Xu Long hurriedly said. Zhuo Mo made a sound of surprise. He pulled aside the sleeve of this Mo. What appeared on the arm was a dense layer of golden Missouri matrices. No, it was seal matrices. These were Jinji. The corners of Zhuo Mo's eyes twitched. He hurriedly inspected the other body parts of this Mo. As expected, they were all covered in Jinji. When Zhuo Mo took the clothing off the upper half of this Mo, the dense layers of Jinji caused everyone to inhale sharply. Miao Jun was furious and gritted out, who did this? They should be killed. It is Jinji from Xian Kong Temple. In the sea of consciousness, Pu Yao appeared like a ghost. He said in a cold voice, Xian Kong Temple has a very famous battalion called the Sin Battalion. The members are all Yaoma that have been captured. They would set Jinji on these captives, and extract a part of their soul forging them into puppets of slaughter. Hiss, when Zhuo Mo heard Pu Yao's words, for some reason, his scalp prickled. This was extremely cruel. Seeing people's eyes gather on him, he repeated what Pu Yao had said. Everyone who heard this changed expression. As a Mo, Miao Jun's face was filled with murderousness as he kept on cursing, damn it. Damn it. This state is caused by the backlash of the Jinji. Pu Yao was slightly shocked. He has stayed away from Xian Kong Temple for too long. The Jinji they put on these bodies are in numerous layers and extremely hard to solve. There are many places that are tricky and dangerous. The most common backlash is this here. If they have not taken a certain kind of Ling medicine after some time, a backlash would occur. This is one of the methods Xian Kong Temple uses to keep Sin Battalion under their control. The thieving Baldies of Xian Kong Temple. As expected, they are evil. Sui Mo said hatefully. He had a deathly hate of Xian Kong Temple. Looking closely at the Jinji on this Mo, Sui Mo could see many things. Right now, his skill in seals and Mo matrices was very deep, especially after he came into contact with Mo matrix awakening. He had a much deeper understanding of these now. Maybe I can try to save him. Sui Mo murmured to himself. Hearing this, Miao Jun's eyes suddenly lit up and he said gravely, "Please, Darren, save his life. This person is definitely an elder of our Mo, he has been greatly humiliated by Xian Kong Temple and cannot escape even in death. How can we, the juniors, sit idly and watch this?" When the words left his mouth, Sui Mo regretted it. It was easy to speak of, but hard to do. Not speaking of the Mo Bay that would be used, it would take great time and mental effort. It really was an unprofitable business. Seeing the righteous anger on Miao Jun's face, Tao Xing angrily spoke from the side, "Yes. The elders of us are being humiliated, so, it really is, really is." Tao Xing was so angry he could not speak. He paused and then said grandly, "Darren, tell me if you need anything. I, Tao Xing, do not have any great ability but do not lack Mo Bay. In a few more days, the people I have told to deliver the Mo embryos will reach Great Peace City. Other than the ones for Darren, I will sell all of the rest. Please, Darren, no matter what, rescue this person. No matter how great the price is, this one is willing." Sui Mo was still focused on Princess Xia and wanted to furiously increase his strength. He did not want to split his attention. However, since they had already said this, and he also felt great sympathy for the Mo, he agreed, thinking this would also adversely affect Xian Kong Temple. All right. Chapter 593, The Sin Battalion's Jinji Bihan's face was pale. A member of Sin Battalion had disappeared and they hadn't found them even after searching all night. Sunlight crept in through the window into the silent room and across his body. But he did not feel any warmth at all. Under the sunlight, the lonely figure seemed desolate. What he had been most worried about had finally occurred. The time of the Jinji backlash had come, and once it arrived, Sin Battalion would completely lose control and die, each in a gory explosion. Because he was worried about this, he didn't dare to use Sin Battalion because this would cause a backlash from the Jinji to occur sooner. The sunlight could not warm the sorrow he felt inside. He did not care about the attitudes of his father and brothers, he did not care about the cold treatment he received. He did not care about any of that. The only thing he cared about was Sin Battalion, a group of Mo puppets that he had interacted with for more than a decade. He only had one wish, to take this battalion that was soulless and kill his way back to Xian Kong Temple. But he wasn't even able to do that. Unconsciously, his knuckles turned white as he clenched his fists tighter, he buried his head deep in his arms. He was a Mo, but he did not know any of the Mo fighting methods. What he knew, what had been taught to him was what the Shouja did. He knew that he was the same as Sin Battalion, something that should not appear in the world, even if the Jinji on his body were removed. They were like monsters, monsters that should not appear. Their best ending was to turn into dust in the sunlight and not leave a smidge of dust behind. He did not care. The only thing in his heart and in his countless dreams was a vision of him leading Sin Battalion back to Xian Kong Temple, and torching it, leaving only a sea of flames. But he could not even do that. He, who only knew Shouja fighting methods, was left in difficult straits in the Mo world. If he did not have Fu Feng, his situation would be even worse. He had never hated himself like this, hated his uselessness. No, there had to be a way. He suddenly raised his head. The light of his eyes was peerlessly vicious like a wild beast that had no way to escape. At this time, Fu Feng suddenly charged in. "Your Highness! Your Highness! I found them. It is Xiao Mo Gu. Xiao Mo guest subordinate had picked up our person today at the Mo skill steals. Many people saw this. Xiao Mo Gu. Bi Han's gaze softened. He suddenly stood up. Go. We're going to find Xiao Mo Gu. Fu Feng had a hesitant expression. What is it? Bi Han asked. Your Highness, it is strange to speak of it. This Xiao Mo Gu is very similar to someone this subordinate saw in the Shuzhe world. Even though his figure and appearance are completely different, but his actions and bearing is very similar, Fu Feng explained. Bi Han was slightly surprised. This person is called Sui Mo, a disciple of Wukong's sword sect, and he is skilled in formations. This subordinate first saw him at a sword test conference, and then interacted with him at Desolate Wood Reef. He left a deep impression on me. Your Highness will definitely remember how he had stopped Lan Tianlong at the gates that day and took away a Shuzhe. In here. Fu Feng said hesitantly. A light suddenly burst into Bi Han's eyes. He murmured, Swa Mo Xiao Mo Gu, Xiao Mo Gu. Little Mo Gu. Fu Feng stilled and then his eyes also lit up. He exclaimed in shock, It's him. Is it really him? Well, no, when we go see. Bi Han walked outside. Zhua Mo felt that Miao Jun should be a pretty good battle general, but when Miao Jun displayed his battle general abilities, he shocked everyone. He was a gold battle general. A gold battle general that not many in Great Peace City knew about. In a spar against Yi Ling had lost after a few rounds. Xu Long was not a match either, but Miao Jun was full of praise. He thought that while Xu Long lacked flexibility in his tactics, he was methodical in his preparations, and after more experience, he could be a great general. But right now, their group was only these 100 or so people. There wasn't much use in having a gold battle general. Miao Jun spent his time teaching Xu Long. He was a true Mo battle general. He was not as versatile as Lil Miss, but he had solid fundamentals and he was perfect for teaching Xu Long. After a few lessons, Xu Long gained greatly. At this time, the orange-haired Yao and the black smoke Yao came back from the Great Peace Mo skill steals. The orange-haired Yao looked at guard camp that was cultivating and instantly became interested. He crowded over. After watching for a while, the orange-haired Yao was confused. He asked, Old Miao, who is stronger, you or Xiao Mo Gu? It was the first time Miao Jun heard someone call him Old Miao. He couldn't help but glance over. Inside, he thought the other was someone that was a very open person. He said, Of course, Darren is stronger. I also feel this way. The orange-haired Yao nodded. Xiao Mo Gu even defeated Corps Commander Yu Heng. Even I have to admit he is a genius on the same level as me. At the side, the black smoke Yao rolled his eyes and couldn't help but say, he is more of a genius than you. The orange-haired Yao turned around and said to the black smoke Yao in a serious tone. I will not admit this. Corps Commander Yu Heng. He was unfamiliar with the name, but those that were corps commanders had to have some skill. Miao Jun was very confident in his skill, but he was not sure that he could defeat a corps commander. He instantly became interested. Oh, I have not heard of this, tell me more. The orange-haired Yao instantly became excited and boasted about all the glorious results that Sui Mo had achieved in the 10-finger prison. However, he was an amateur when it came to strategy and his recounting was full of mistakes. At the side, the black smoke Yao could not bear it and constantly corrected him. The more Miao Jun heard, the more shocked he was, and the more puzzled he was. The orange-haired Yao and the black smoke Yao clearly were not lying. Their expressions were serious and they were full of details. Miao Jun had some knowledge about the 10-finger prison of the Yao. To be able to defeat a corps commander of a regular corps in war chess. How great the strength! Definitely the strength of a gold battle general. But he had personally experienced Darren's MO skills. If someone said that Darren was a Yao, he would not believe it on pain of death. A Yao could cultivate 10 crow celestial apparatus. But he suddenly remembered that in Darren's fight against him, he had used little Yao arts. The more Miao Jun thought, the more puzzled he was. Zhua Mo carefully inspected the Jinji on the Sin Battalion Mo. The Sin Battalion is a battalion that existed since long ago. There is a complete set of Jinji and methods to control them. The battle general for each generation of Sin Battalion is very strong. You need to be careful. Pu Yao gave a rare warning to Zhua Mo. Zhua Mo made a sound of acknowledgement and threw himself into studying the interlocking Jinji. The Jinji were set up in a tricky fashion, and Zhua Mo found that some of the Jinji clearly mimicked the style of Mo matrices. However, the mimicry in Zhua Mo's eyes was at a very low level. Not all the Jinji on the Sin Battalion Mo were harmful. It was actually the opposite. Most of the Jinji were beneficial and could increase their combat abilities. Zhua Mo's world was broadened by many of the methods, and he was greatly inspired. It could be seen that Xian Kong Temple had started to study how to engrave formations a long time ago. They had many methods that were very mature and unique. Zhua Mo became even more excited as he studied. He could copy many of these methods right now. He already thought of several ways that could perfect the effects of the Mo matrices that he gave to Golden Crow Camp. These would be worth thousands of Jingshi. Gradually, the Jinji of Xian Kong Temple were slowly exposed in front of him and peeled off. But when the core Jinji appeared in front of him, Zhua Mo inhaled sharply. The innermost Jinji was actually connected directly to the soul. A fantastical method. Zhua Mo almost did not believe his own eyes. The soul was intangible. The difficulty of connecting the soul to the Jinji was so high he was stunned where he stood. But he quickly refocused and his gaze became clear. He started to examine this last Jinji. A long time later, he shook his head and stood up again. It was not possible to solve this last Jinji, and he did not have a solution. The incompleteness of the souls of Sin Battalion were directly related to this Jinji. Fortunately, while this Jinji could not be solved, it was not a damaging Jinji. After completely investigating these Jinji, Zhua Mo could not simply remove those dangerous Jinji and used an even more daring plan. He was going to use the original Jinji as a foundation to engrave new Mo matrices. I heard that there is a great genius that appeared in Great Peace City. He didn't just cause the shifting star sand, he also stepped onto the Great Peace Mo ranking. It has been so long since such an exceptional person appeared, Princess Xian said with a smile. Princess Xian was sitting up ruler straight. Her long and slender neck would make people unconsciously of a swan. In truth, she possessed the noble blood of the Moon Lake Swan clan. Her figure was tall and her appearance outstanding. Princess Wan sat silently with a faint smile on her face like she was an exquisite doll. Of the three princesses, she was the youngest, her personality quiet and bashful. Princess Xia said with a smile, "Yes, he is called Xiao Mo Gu. There have been people muttering his name into my ear all day. I'm getting calluses just from hearing it. I don't know if he is even that strong." Princess Xia's skin was fine and white, and her lips warm and seductive. Her eyes were an enchanting pink. Of the three, her looks were undoubtedly the most outstanding and her movements were bewitching. "Now, even I am curious." A handsome youth clapped and said with a smile, "It has been very long since someone strong appeared in Great Peace City. In the past, only that Qi Diao Yu could not be considered powerful. The other people are not up to our standards or they are old and have not hope of entering the martial level." The youth's tone was grandiose but did not cause people to think he was proud because he had the qualifications to say this. Shen Yu, the most outstanding expert of the youngest generation of the Shen family. Supposedly, he had stepped into general level when he was 16 and was the most likely member of the Shen family to reach martial level. In these years, he had traveled around to challenge famous experts and had never been defeated. It was only when he encountered Princess Xia that he was enchanted by her becoming her defender. He stood by her side and did not have any complaints. When he heard Princess Xia praise Xiao Mo Gu, he instantly felt discontent. He decided inside that when the time came, he would definitely challenge Xiao Mo Gu to show Princess Xia who was the true genius. The pitiful Zhuo Mo did not know that a jealous someone was already targeting him. Chapter 594, Underhanded, Qing Shidi. Gongsun Cha went over and gave Chun Yucheng a great hug. Chun Yucheng was usually immersed in his own husbandry activities and never left his place. It had been a long time since Gongsun Cha had seen him. The two of them had followed Zhuo Mo all the way from Desolate Wood Reef and their relationship was naturally intimate. Gongsun Cha had been slightly surprised when he had received Chun Yucheng's paper crane. Qing Shidi wanted to come to the Mo world. He said that it was best to raise animals here. Gongsun Cha knew just how interested in animal husbandry Qing Shidi was and was not surprised. Little Savage Jie was a pretty good place and was almost completely under Shidong's control. However, out of consideration of safety, Gongsun Cha felt it would be better to keep Qing Shidi with him, so he had Qing Shidi come to Orchid Home Jie. The seal formation fort here had been constructed and with Vermilion Bird Camp standing guard and he himself present, he was not afraid even if Tian Huan came to attack. Chun Yucheng looked around curiously. This is a Mo Jie. Yes, it is called Orchid Home Jie. The nearby Jie is called Black Stone Jie and has been taken over by Tian Huan. However, we do not interfere in their business and they do not dare to come make trouble, Gongsun Cha introduced casually. The Xiuzha along the way continuously sent out greetings to them. Then do you have Mo steeds? Chun Yucheng looked around and then moved his gaze away to ask the main point. Gongsun Cha had wanted to reminisce about good times and was left with a helpless expression. However, he knew that Qing Shidi was like this. He had already prepared for this question and called over a Jia Gu. A Jia Gu was a Mo that was born here and was very familiar with Mo steeds. He would be a very good guide. The Stellar Rahula clan did have Mo steeds that they raised. When they heard Lil Miss call Chun Yucheng by Shidi, a Jia Gu instantly understood the status of this youth that looked absent-minded and simple. He did not dare to slight the other. He found all kinds of Mo steeds that the people in his battalion used and then gave detailed introductions to all of them. When he saw the Mo steeds, Chun Yucheng could not pull himself away. He did not look at Lil Miss even one more time. Lil Miss knew his personality and was not angry. After saying a few words to a Jia Gu, he prepared to work on his own things. Suddenly, a scout hurried over. Lil Miss stopped walking. Seeing the expression of the scout, he knew something had happened. Darren. Black Stone Jie is being attacked by a Yao battalion. Black Stone Jie was being attacked by Yao. Lil Miss suddenly smiled. A few days ago, the Tianhuan battalion had boldly and publicly left Black Stone Jie to go attack somewhere else. Now, someone had come to take their old nest. He could imagine that Gongya Xiaorong's expression when he heard the news would be spectacular. Lil Miss was slightly interested in this Yao battalion that had suddenly appeared. This was Mo territory and it was not normal for a Yao battalion to appear here. Also, this Yao battalion appeared at the perfect time. From every angle, this was a planned and very successful sneak attack. Gongya Xiaorong was too careless. Chun Yucheng did not even raise his head. He did not react at all to the news. A Jia Gu was very shocked. He suddenly remembered something and hurriedly said, Darren. This subordinate knows the identity of this battalion. You know. Gongsun Cha was slightly surprised. Darren. There is a chaos rift in Black Stone Jie that leads into the Yao world. It is the territory of the Palace Lakewood clan. This time, our clan had allied with all the clans to form an allied army to face Gongya Xiaorong. Of the clans we contacted, we sent an invitation to the Palace Lakewood clan. They sent a little girl called Mu Shi. If it is a Yao battalion, it could most likely be this one. They have not died yet. A Jia Gu's face was full of disbelief. Palace Lakewood Clan. Gong Sun Cha murmured and then threw the question to one side. Suddenly, another scout hurriedly flew in. Before he landed, he said in a rush, "Darren, Tian Huan has suffered a strong attack and sent someone to ask for aid. We stopped their people. They are asking to meet Darren. They say they will repay us after this." Gong Sun Cha stilled and then felt it was amusing. Asking us for help. They have really panicked. Seeing the scout waiting for his order, he waved his hand. "Say that I am not here." At the side, a Jia Gu sighed in relief. There was deep hate between the stellar Racula clan and Tian Huan. Inside, he naturally was not willing to go help. Gong Sun Cha murmured to himself, "Tian Huan. I would be more willing to have black stone Jia in the hands of the Yao." A while later, a scout came to report again. "Darren. Tian Huan has lost black stone Jia. The remnants of their people are heading towards us." A Jia Gu almost jumped up. "They want to lure the Yao battalion over here." Gong Sun Cha smiled coldly. "There is no need to pay attention to them. It is good for us to see this Yao battalion. They have lost so quickly. This Yao battalion is not simple." Many hours later, a panic-looking battalion appeared in the sky. Behind them were the orderly ranks of a Yao battalion. They were completely at ease and switched between charging and following at a leisurely pace. "It's an expert." Lil Miss narrowed his eyes. The Yao battalion had a good rhythm. They kept up the pressure on the Tian Huan battalion, who had to constantly keep their guard up and flee. It would be easy for them to crumble now. A Jia Gu showed a joyous expression. He could also see the strength of Mu Shi. He wanted this Tian Huan battalion to be completely killed. When the Tian Huan battalion saw the formation belt on this fortress, they were like people drowning that saw the last life-saving reed and flew over in a rush. Before they could fly close, the large formations under their feet started to light up. Hundreds of large formations lit up at the same time and illuminated the entire mountain valley as though it was daytime. Looking down from the sky, these 100 large-scale formations spread from the Chaos Rift and formed a semicircle that spread for dozens of li. There were 7 layers to the formation belt, 7 defense lines. When the Yao battalion saw such strong defenses, their troops paused. Charging into this kind of defense line was akin to suicide. The combat show of Tian Huan had shock mixed with fear. How long had it been since they took over and the other was able to silently construct a formation fortress here? The amount of manpower, materials, and wealth that such an enormous formation belt consumed was humongous. Which power did Gong Sun Cha belong to? The remnants of the Tian Huan battalion stared at each other. They all saw the deep shock in each other's eyes. "What to do?" a person hesitantly asked. "Well, talk after we charge." "Do they dare to kill all of us?" another person gritted out. "If they offend our Tian Huan, they would not have good days in the future." "They would not dare." "Charge," someone else agreed. They quickly reached a consensus and ordered the people to charge at the formation belt. The normal combat show did not think so much. The terror on their faces instantly turned to joy. Those formation belts gave them a feeling of safety they never had before. Many people thought inside, if the sect also built formation belts like this, how could a Yao battalion defeat them? "Do not attack. Do not attack. Sire, if you lend a hand in aid, my Tian Huan will repay you grandly." Looking at the remnants of the battalion that was charging disorderly towards them, Gong Sun Cha's eyes suddenly became cold and sharp as a blade. He said in a cold voice, "Kill those that intrude the defensive line." Almost as his voice sounded, the formation defense line at the very front suddenly lit up brightly. The battle generals of the Tian Huan battalion all paled. "Quick, retreat!" Their exclamations were quickly drowned out in a roaring rain of light. The blinding rain light was like a swarm of locusts that shot towards the sky from the ground and blocked out the sun. Pew pew pew. The combat Xiao that had leapt towards the defense line felt their vision turn completely white. An enormous pain came from their bodies and they quickly lost all sensation. Even in death, their expressions were filled with disbelief. The other really dared to attack. They were Tian Huan. The battle generals that had sent the order stared with wide eyes in disbelief at the sky that was completely empty. Their eyes filled with blood. A battle general shouted grievously, "Gongsun Cha. You are so vicious. Tian Huan will not spare you." On the ground, Gongsun Cha gave a small smile and spat out, "Idiot." The formations at the very front lit up again and the enormous Ling power vibrations caused people's hearts to beat rapidly. The battle general saw this. Gritting his teeth, his face was filled with hate as he led the remnants of the battalion to flee in another direction. Now we have offended Tian Huan again. Chun Yucheng, who was disturbed, gazed up and said. "It will be fine once you are used to the idea," Gongsun Cha said casually. They had become at odds with Gongya Xiao Rong once before this. If one had a score with a large sect like Tian Huan, one could only wait to be destroyed. Except if in Tian Huan's eyes, you were as strong as they were. For example, it restrained itself when it came to the other three great sections. But Gongsun Cha clearly understood Tian Huan did not think of them as an opponent of equal standing. If they waited for Gongya Xiao Rong to sweep this area clean, he would eventually find the time and energy to sweep them away as well. Could one tolerate someone else sleeping by their bed? Rather than that, it was better to go on the offensive first and trip them up slightly. Lil Miss had great anticipation about how Gongya Xiao Rong would respond next. Just thinking about it put him in a good mood. Mu Shi watched the entire process. She couldn't help but show slightly shock and she sank into thought. This battalion clearly was not from the same faction as Tian Huan. There probably was also enmity between them. The Tian Huan battalion had lured her here with malicious intentions. However, they clearly underestimated how vicious the other side's leader was. Even Mu Shi couldn't help but feel astounded when she saw the formation belts below unleash their powerful attacks. The danger level of the other instantly skyrocketed in her mind. One had to be careful to have such a vicious wolf for a neighbor. She carefully inspected the other's formation belts. The setup was nearly perfect and did not have any dead angles. She would need a battalion of at least 8,000 to attack such a formation belt and would have to pay an extremely heavy price. She sent out a little team to pursue the remnants of the Tian Huan battalion that had fled. The battalion's morale was extremely low. As long as the harassment was kept up, the other would crumble. What was most important now was not destroying the remnants of the enemy battalion but take control of Black Stone Jie. Originally, she had planned on going back to the Yao world, but when she saw the conflict between the two factions just now, she changed her mind and decided to hold Black Stone Jie. Just now, this battalion had openly become enemies with Tian Huan. In other words, they were Tian Huan's enemy. Gongya Xiao Rong would definitely be wary of them and would not dare to attack Black Stone Jie with all of his might. In such a case, the possibility of holding Black Stone Jie was much higher. After thinking for a while, she made a decision. She needed to immediately return to Black Stone Jie and she needed reinforcements from her family. Gongya Xiao Rong definitely would have gotten word of this and was most likely coming back. Time was tight. Chapter 595, Smooth Talker Buheng said to the shadowed corner. You failed. The woman next to him is very powerful, an ancient voice passed out from the pitch-black corner. His voice paused slightly and then he said, I will not act again. Both of the women beside him are very powerful. Buheng was not surprised. He said, You are afraid. A moment later, the old voice in the corner said, Yes, I am afraid. Do you know why you cannot get vengeance? Buheng raised an eyebrow with disdain on his face, because you try to attend to everything and do not dare to gamble your life to fight. A cold and dark killing intent tightly restrained Buheng. Buheng's face turned pale from the killing intent, but he did not retreat at all. The mocking smile on his face grew. Just like right now. You do not dare to kill me because you are afraid of my battalion. You are afraid that my battalion will destroy your family. You are weak, you cannot let go of your revenge, but you are also afraid of death. You hope to break into martial level. If you cannot enter martial level, you will be a worm crawling in the dark, trying to scrape out a living. Martial level? Stop dreaming. Which martial is a weak-willed man? Buheng's cold words were like a metal hammer breaking through the ice and shattering the other's mental defenses. A moment later, the killing intent disappeared without a trace. A tired figure walked out of the corner. The old voice carried deep exhaustion. You are right, I cannot get to martial level. I can exact your revenge for you, Buheng suddenly said. The other was silent. However, in return I want your life. Buheng stood up and walked away without another glance back. When you have thought it through, come find me. Before Buheng reached the door, a hoarse voice came from behind him, how can you exact my revenge for me? Buheng stopped and said coldly, you forget my Heng battalion. A battalion in the top 100 of 100 Savage Realm, can I not get your revenge? What do you want me to do? The voice came from behind him. At an appropriate time, kill him. What is an appropriate time? You will know when it is time. When he finished saying this, Buheng opened the door and left without a look back. Buheng left with his battalion. Lan Tianlong was slightly shocked. Lan Rong shrugged. Maybe he feels that there is no hope. No matter how strong his battalion is, there is no use for it in Great Peace City. As for individual strength, he does not have anyone that can be used against Xiao Mo Gu. This does not fit Buheng's personality, Lan Tianlong said as he shook his head. He's left, and even took his battalion with him. Lang Rong said unconcernedly, what else can he do? Alright, let's not think about him further. Lan Tianlong did not understand the situation and then threw it to one side. Suddenly, he looked with a smile at Lan Rong. Don't you like Princess Xan? How about it? Are you unable to sleep from anticipation? A thread of embarrassment appeared on Lan Rong's face, but he quickly recovered. He shook his head, she will not be attracted to me. Lan Tianlong became silent. He knew that his brother was right. The Lan family had some power and the two brothers were exceptional, but in front of the ocean of suitors for the three princesses, they were not special. He patted his brother's shoulder and comforted, there are opportunities everywhere. You have a better appearance than me, and you can definitely win hearts. The two brothers exchanged a look and then laughed. A moment later, the two stopped. Lan Rong said with a smile, however, they might not end up well this time. I feel that this Xiao Mo Gu is aiming for these three princesses. Lan Tianlong thought a moment and then said, after you mention this, I feel very similarly. He has been so flamboyant in his conduct, so high that he is almost flying. It is so coincidental. The more I think, the more I the same. I just don't know which princess he likes. I wonder which person will be the unlucky one. Lan Rong had some schadenfreude. This Xiao Mo Gu is one that does not act according to convention. Those that he targets would probably have a headache. Hearing this, Lan Rong couldn't help but grin. The departure of Buheng and his battalion did not cause great ripples. Everyone felt that Buheng did not have any ways to deal with Xiao Mo Gu. Rather than keep fighting, it was better to save face and leave. Also, as the date of arrival of the three princesses approached, and all of Great Peace City was like a great stove that kept on receiving fuel. People's emotions became heightened and almost all topics of discussion circled around the three princesses. Bihan and Fu Feng were waiting silently. Tao Xing and Xu Long were at the side. They had come to find Zuemo and Xu Long had received them but refused to disturb Zuemo. When Bihan heard from Shu Long that Sui Mo was saving that Sin Battalion Mo, he quieted down. He had enough confidence. The room door suddenly opened and Sui Mo came out. Sui Mo. Fu Feng suddenly said. Sui Mo had noticed long ago that there were two unfamiliar presences at the door. When he walked out and heard this name, he clearly stopped. However, when he saw Fu Feng's face, he was very shocked. Fu Feng. The two had interacted multiple times and he had a deep impression of the other. How is he? Bihan suddenly asked. Sui Mo glanced at Bihan. He did not know the person, so he turned towards Fu Feng. After Fu Feng had the confirmation that Xiao Mo Gu was Sui Mo, he was slightly excited. When he saw Sui Mo's inquiring gaze, he made a quick introduction. This is His Highness Bihan, the Sin Battalion member that was lost is His Highness subordinate. He then explained the past events. Sui Mo finally realized and increasingly felt that Xian Kong Temple was peaceful in appearance but was cruel in their bones. He instantly said in a hateful tone, yes. The thieving baldies of Xian Kong Temple should die. When he heard that Bihan had escaped to the Mo world upon being sent to attack Cloud Sea Jia, Sui Mo couldn't help but roar in laughter. Fu Feng was slightly puzzled and hurriedly asked. Sui Mo waved his hand and did not mention that he was the master of Cloud Sea Jia. Even though he did not receive an answer, Fu Feng's heart relaxed. It seemed that Sui Mo and Xian Kong Temple were at odds. The common saying was applicable. The enemy of the enemy was a friend. Adding on their past interactions, they felt even closer. How is he? Bihan was worried about the Sin Battalion member and couldn't help asking again. Sui Mo was slightly surprised. The Sin Battalion's soul was not complete and was like a Mo puppet. In the hands of Xian Kong Temple, they were expendable. Bihan was concerned for the Sin Battalion member who had an incomplete soul, so Sui Mo instantly had a better impression of him. He said with a smile, "You'll know when you go in and see." As he spoke, he walked into the room first. Bihan and Fu Feng hurriedly followed after. When they saw the Sin Battalion member standing silently as a puppet, light flashed through Bihan's eyes. He did not seem to move, but the Sin Battalion member reappeared like a ghost behind his body. A light came out of Bihan's eyes, his expression was shocked. "You erased the Jinji." Sui Mo was very proud. "The problematic Jinji have to be removed, and I also perfected all the Jinji. I made them into Mo matrices. This guy's power should have risen 2 times over. Aren't I strong?" Bihan's face was filled with disbelief. His thoughts suddenly moved and the Sin Battalion member started to spin at increasing speed. When his figure was a blur, he was still accelerating. The entire room was swept up in the gusts of wind. Everyone was caught up in the wind while Sui Mo and a few others remained nailed to the ground. Suddenly, the Sin Battalion member stopped moving. There was no transition between extreme movement and extreme calm. It was so strange it was nauseating. Bihan's eyes lit up even more. Sui Mo's words were not wrong at all. The power of the Sin Battalion member had increased by more than 2 times. If the entirety of Sin Battalion could improve like this, the battalion would be terrifying. Bihan suddenly bowed towards Sui Mo. "I have something to ask." Sui Mo paused and hurriedly pulled Bihan up. "Just say it." "I am sincerely asking Sir to remove the Jinji from my Sin Battalion brothers and engraving Mo matrices," Bihan said with a serious expression. "How many people do you have?" Sui Mo asked suspiciously. 2,623. Bihan said. Sui Mo's head swelled up. He hurriedly shook his head. "No way, no way. This is going to tire me to death. Please, sire, agree. No matter the conditions, I am willing to agree to them." Bihan said without hesitation. When Fu Feng heard this, he knew it was bad. He had interacted with Mo before, and this guy had carried the nickname of the scalping zombie in the past. Everywhere he passed, he had even dug up the ground for 3 chi. Would this guy have any reason to give up the opportunity His Highness had delivered up himself like this? As expected, Mo, who had been seriously refusing just a moment ago, immediately started to rub his chin. Friendship and business should be separated. Look at how much energy it takes. This takes great mental effort to solve the layers of Jinji, and also to use my novel Mo matrix method. It has not just solving all weaknesses for your Sin battalion, it is increasing their power up a level. How difficult this is. Brother B, you are a professional, you should definitely understand the difficulty involved in such a task. The pitiful Bihan had never seen something like this before. He was instantly swept up in the speech. Even the experienced Fu Feng's heart was beating rapidly. But he was unable to object because the initiative was in the other's hands. He could only pray the other would not ask too great of a price. Mo's spittle flew as he went on, more than 3,000 members. 1. Such a vast amount of labor. I'm the only one who can do this, I will have to do all the work from beginning to end. But who am I, Xiao Mo Gu? A general level, gold battle general, genius that caused the shifting star sands, an expert ranked 20th on the Great Peace Mo rankings. I ask you, how can my fee be low? Tao Xing gaped on hearing this. The more Bihan heard, the more insecure he felt. He thought that Mo was right. He swallowed. No. Go on. Yes. I believe that you who is logical and knowledgeable would understand. Mo was very satisfied with Bihan's cooperation. He paused, and asked, do you have many Mo Bei? Bihan shook his head and obediently answered, not much. Mo was slightly disappointed and then asked, do you have some rare treasures? Bihan shook his head. No. Mo's face was filled with disappointment as he sighed. He said, look, you do not have Mo Bei, you do not have treasures, then you can only sell yourself. Normally, even signing away your life would be considered a cheap price, but Brother Fu and I are old acquaintances, so I will give you a discount. I admire Brother B's moral conduct and will give you a further discount. So my friend, I will give you the best friendship discount. Everyone looked at Mo and waited for him to name his price. 1. Fong Xiang changes the number here. He does it again later. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.